Don't make me use this thing again. I love you, but you know, oh, and I got troublemaker coming up here to the front. All right, no worries. All right, if we could get started, Miss Deb Hoffman, if you'll lead us in the invocation, and then we'll actually go into the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, Ms. Deb. I appreciate that. All right, we are starting at 6:32. If I get a roll call, please, Miss Brenda.
Ms. Portman?
Here.
Mr. Hibbert?
Here.
Mr. Whitaker?
Here.
Ms. Mangus?
Here.
Ms. Mendez?
Here.
Ms. Enlow?
Here.
All right, well, first of all, Faith, we're glad to have you back here.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back. Glad to have everybody back in staff here. All right, so the first thing we need here is a motion and a second to approve the meeting notes on May 22nd, please.
Motion.
Got a motion from Jennifer,
A second.
second by Paula. Miss Brenda?
Okay. Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Mangus?
Yes.
Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
I'm gonna wait till the police chief is done back there. I love you. All right, I had to do that. All right. Now I need a motion to approve and a second for the June 12th special meeting notes, please.
Motion.
Oh, I'll get Paula first and then Jennifer in a second.
I'll second. Yes.
All right.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
You were absent.
You was absent.
Okay. Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Ms. Mangus? Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
That's not a special meeting, it's a regular meeting.
Okay. That's a regular.
Just a little
was a
note on that.
regular meeting.
Just- We approved, that was a regular meeting. She actually has listed special there. That is actually just a regular meeting. notes, a regular meeting. Not a big deal, but just wanna, not a big deal. We're gonna start obviously with our presentations. We've got some, couple of annexations, couple of zonings, but I wanna make sure we start first of all with the presentations. So, Ms. Courtney Burton would come up here. Ms. Courtney, how are you?
Lovely, how are you?
We're doing good, doing good. Just want to give an update. We try to make sure with all of our different folks, our community planner, obviously economic advisor here, and our ABC, we do want them to periodically come up here and give you kind of an update of what they're working on. So we're gonna start with Ms. Courtney today.
Great. A couple things, we have been talking about Downtown Business Association meetings and also the city part of the Cedar Grove Park. Well, due to vacations, we've had a couple people drowning, so we had to rearrange and shift a few things, but we are excited and we are going to continue with those meetings. We've just been asked, the one that we were going to do this week, we had to scoot because one of the big players was drowning, Mark Brown couldn't attend, and he's been very involved, and I want him to be able to speak on behalf of kind of what So if you are a veteran from the Korean War, or if you are someone that you have someone serving overseas right now, you can go to that specific spot and you can reflect and you can think about your loved ones. And another thing that Being Vets brought that I think is such a great idea, we're gonna offer some type of way to support and say, like if my children wanted to do a brick in my honor and say, my mom served in the Navy, and so we're gonna donate $100, so we have a brick with my mom's name on the Navy section. So it's a great way to have really specific Shepherdsville, Woolett County representation. It's a great way for families to get involved at a reasonable cost, and then also just to have this beautiful proud monument area to memorialize and celebrate our armed forces.
Before she goes too much further, they are gonna actually fund that themselves.
Correct.
They are funding all of that. So
Yeah,
everything
we
she just
wanna
mentioned to you,
reallocate every dollar that
should be
we
Ben's.
were thinking about putting into that, we now are going to just, we're gonna take care of it on our own. And I assure you, it's gonna be gorgeous. It will not be something like, oh, wow, that's nice. No, it's gonna be, it will be something that I want people to travel here to see that. So that's number one. Number two is, we had talked about First Harrison, so I just wanna make sure everyone knows they did sign a contract for a $50,000 sponsorship, so that's a significant contribution to our park plans, and they will be sponsoring the amphitheater, so they're going to help us out, they're gonna help promote events, they're gonna help sponsor events. They are partnered up and ready to rock and roll for the amphitheater. So that's not just a significant financial commitment, but First Harrison has so much influence in the community. They send out their troops, they make sure that they are volunteering, they are doing and they are promoting. So that is not just a sponsorship, it is truly a partnership. So that's definitely on number two on the list. Third, and another thing that's just, we're working on some drawings, but Beam Suntory, which is a different group and a different pot of money really than the Beam Vets. The Suntory group, that's the executive team, Raylan Atkins, who serves on the Chamber of Commerce. She's kind of our voice on that executive board. They're interested in sponsoring a large water feature for our park. So what, in the area, if you've seen the drawings for the park where the 5K is going to be, that's where Beam wants to really put something that's gorgeous. They want it to just be something that's astronomically, she said astronomically eye-catching. So we want to do that, but they really, their stipulation is they want it to be a water feature. So I'm not really a rendering person. I'm not going to be able to do that, but I'm going to count on some people to give us a couple of options for a really awesome, gorgeous water feature, and then we're going to get Beam on board. And they're very excited to do it. It just depends on what we present. Then we can figure out what level they're going to sponsor us. But I look forward to something big there. And again, they are in. It's not a matter of if they're going to help. It's just a matter of how much. So that's also exciting. The thing with their executive board is they meet every 2 months to discuss these kind of things. So we just really have to get on their schedule. But again, I think as soon as we get a drawing, a rendering, and get some numbers, I think we'll be in great shape there. And then the last big part that I want to give an update on is this inclusive playground. We are, Dory Shelburne, she's the CEO of U of L South, and she is a huge community supporter. They hire, and they have so many local folks working at that hospital. They are so involved in many things, but she specifically, we've been talking, I've been in her office a few times now, and we just keep coming back to this playground. And so what we're looking to do, we want to, this sensory rich, we want a play area that any child ranging from the young ages, abilities, everybody should be able to come to this playground, and it should be, not just eye-catching, but functionally appealing and pleasing to these kids. And so you can just have 12, 13 kids. It doesn't matter if they're holding themselves up, if they're using a wheelchair, that everything should be accessible, and it should be something that these kids are asking their parents to go see, you know what I mean? And so that she has a very strong vision, she has a very strong passion for it, and she just feels like what U of L's doing for the community, that's a perfect fit for them. So again, it's just, she has some ideas and we have some ideas, and it's just getting it together on paper. But these
go anywhere yet. First of all, I want to make sure, council have any questions first? I have a couple, but most of them, but I want to make sure if you guys have got any questions, anybody have anything you would like to add, suggest? I will tell you guys, when you start adding up the dollars here, one of the things we want to make sure you understand, that playground is very, very expensive playground. As we all know, it's probably anywhere, depending on the design and what is all included in that, you're looking at $500,000 to $750,000. So it's obviously very important for people to understand the kind of cost that goes into it, which we've actually included in our 30 million, but we also know that if these things come about like we think they're going to, the Beam Auditorium is gonna pay for that water. That whole water project is all theirs. Same thing with all the memorial, the Jim Beam vets are taking care of that. So we have some people that are involved yet, but again, some of that excitement, you know, some of the things that you see, the press and that we get right now, people are interested, wow, what is all this? And now the private sector is doing what they're interested. How can we be a part of that? And we've just tapped into it. Again, a lot of our biggest, we're talking about GFS, Amazon, Best Buy. Okay, these are Magnus Heating. We're going to be talking to them about their, and nobody has ever done that. Nobody's ever said, hey, would you like to be a good neighbor for us? Could be a partner of our future. I think that's going to be a great conversation. So we're working on now. We're setting up some meetings, and it's, like I said, it's going really well. Very positive right now. And again, we've gotten some commitments, so we know that there's some money already, but you know, some of these others, we'd like to really see where it goes. And we've still not even talked about YMCA, the school board, and we haven't even talked about the county's commitment to us. So these are partners of ours. I mean, these are all three partners going to be part of what we're doing here in the city of Shepherdsville. So, Courtney, I thank you, and we'll look forward to your next update. All right? Thank you. All right. All right. So we have Miss Amber. Come on up. Amber, how are you? We're doing good. We got this little thing coming up this weekend. What's this? Something going on Friday and Saturday? We got something going on, yeah?
Yes. Gold Quest is Friday and Saturday for that. Friday it is 6 to 10 p.m. We will have the Great American Carnival providing the rides. We'll have live music from Kentucky Hillbilly, he's the opening act, and then Penny Royal will go on at 8:30. And then we have the dunk tank. Mayor Camara will be in there. So the proceeds will actually go to the Upper Room and Colton's Clubhouse. They're both local organizations here in Shepherdsville.
Hey,
And
Amber,
then-
Amber, I don't mean to interrupt you. Did you remind them that they actually have to hit it hard enough to actually knock me down? I mean, just want to make sure they need to know that. They don't just dink it and hit it. They got to actually knock me down. So, I mean, they might want to practice.
And then Saturday,
You too.
we come back 3 to 11 p.m. Same rides, dunk booth. Live music is from Felicity Band, and then Josh, Logan, and Olivia Hinken, they were both on The Voice. And then Captured, the Journey tribute band will be there. And then big fireworks show provided by the Bullitt County Tourism and the Convention Commission. So that is coming up that Friday and Saturday. Farmers Market has been going on for 3 weeks now. It's been a great turnout so far. Lots of vendors, 46 vendors this year so far. Opening day was very successful. Mayor is going to be there August 12th for the Meet the Mayor Day. So if you want to come by, anybody else that wants to meet him, have any questions, sit and talk to him. And then
We'll have lots of drawings.
Go buy lunch?
Come on. Come on.
All right.
And then we do have some music coming up July at the market. It's Felicity Band. She's coming July 29th. I'm hoping to get some other music in there as well before the season ends. I wanted to touch base on Kids Fest. It was a great success. I want to thank Mike and Karen Hibbert. They were at the booth with us, and Mayor and his wife came by for a few, and it was a great turnout. Everybody was very
Yeah.
excited about the plans. I had some renderings of the park down Buckland Street. Everybody was excited. They had lots of questions, and so I was able to talk to several people about those.
And we'll also have that at the city fair too.
Yes.
And Bullet Blast. We'll actually have renderings again for more people to see more what that money's going to be entailed, because that's what everybody wants to know. Everybody knows 30 million. They just want to know where 30 million is going. So a lot of that's giving you a chance to see some of the drawings and renderings. The same thing with the meeting on August 12th. We just want to make sure we keep communicating to everybody, answer as many questions, and please, and there's all kinds of, you can ask any questions you need to, because we want to make sure people really understand the magnitude of what's going to happen in Shepherdsville the next 4 years.
And then August 12th, we are going to have a countywide blood drive. We're partnering with American Red Cross. So it's a huge county thing
Blink your eyes. Well, thank you very much.
Amber, will you tell them about how many food trucks will be at the Bullet Blast?
Sure. So Friday, we will have 11 food trucks. The Louisville Food Association Truck Association said that they would come back and help us with Bullet Blast. And then on Saturday, we will have 15. And that will include Smoke Over Fire, J. Mo's, and then I have a food truck coming from National Turnpike to join us. So.
Yeah, just a lot of good food selections. It's a little different this year than you've seen in the past, as far as options, and it was a little limited before.
Yeah,
I think
and
that we'll
then
have that.
Little Mexico will be there.
Yep, and we'll have obviously margaritas and some wine, right, all that good stuff. All the good stuff. All right, thank you, Miss Amber. All right. All right, Miss Joe Fleming, Mr. Joe Fleming, come on and see us.
All right, so I got a little more information for everybody today than I did last time. I've actually had some time to dig in and kind of learn a little bit. We got 53 total businesses and license holders right now. They got about 87 total license between all of them. 32 of them are due for renewal on August 8th, and then the other 30 will be right at the beginning of the year. I haven't had a whole lot of issues. A couple things that I've had to help people along the way with, learning myself in them, but everybody's been really enjoyable to work with so far.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about being in this position, we want to make sure that we're more of a support, right? If people aren't doing it right, I mean, obviously, let's work with our businesses. We want to be business friendly, but we always got to make sure we're following the laws. And so that's what Joe's learning on the job a little bit. And obviously, he's got some support at KLC and then obviously ABC at the state level. But the biggest thing, we just want to make sure that everybody's doing the right thing, and we want to make sure that we're following all the laws. I will also tell you that Joe and I are also working on finding out exactly how it works with. We know that the close proximity, if we had a local winery right down on downtown Buckman, because of the close proximity of the park, that you're able to have a glass of wine and walk into the park, which is really kind of cool. Obviously, be a plastic container, no glass. But the idea that we're able to do something like that, either that or with a bourbon tasting, would be kind of really a cool thing to do. So we're obviously looking, as we do all these projects, the aesthetics of being downtown, having a glass of wine and going into the park. Sounds like a pretty cool deal. So they're looking at things like that we can make it more enjoyable to be downtown area as we continue to develop the business plan for that area. So I want to make sure that you all know that, Joe. So appreciate what you've been doing, man. I know you've learned a lot of this on the job, but glad to have you, buddy. Glad to have you here, man.
Shout out to Mr. Boone. He's an ABC officer that's been helping me out a whole lot. He's
Okay.
not in here right now.
No, all right, Mr. Boone? All right.
He's been fantastic.
He's your guy. All right, make sure he gets a Christmas card. All right, thanks, Joe. All right. I think we have a couple of people here for this. Catherine's gonna, you're reading on the alley.
Well,
Discussion.
I'm gonna have a discussion before I read on the closing.
Okay, no worries.
So, if you guys will look at your, attachments to the ordinance, 023036, it's an ordinance to close an alleyway. This came about because, there's two owners that abut this quote-unquote alleyway, and it's not, it can't be used as an alleyway, and you'll see in the pictures why. So they would like it for the city to deed the property to them. The city didn't buy this property, when these owners bought it, they dedicated it, this portion, to the city to be used as an alleyway if need be. It's, I think, 20 feet wide, 150 feet long. Since it's not gonna be used as an alleyway, they would like the city to, deed it over to them. I think one would get half, the other would get half, so it'd be 10 and 10. But before we do that, we have to close the alleyway. So I have, if you look, there's a schematic that there's, of course, the last page there is the drawing, which kind of shows you. This is on 44, and it's where Sims Auto Mart is, and the apartments.
Yeah.
So the picture that you guys have, that was me. That's me standing almost on 44 and taking it going back. So as you can see, they don't need it as an alleyway because that whole right side is a parking lot.
Right.
But we'd have to change a ditch or something because at the front it's very narrow and there's a ditch. And I'm like, no car could pull into that if it was an alleyway.
Right.
So that's what's coming down the line. If we close this alleyway, they would like the city to basically give them back that property since it won't be used as an alleyway. Statute requires us to close it. We had to get written consent from both owners or all the owners abutting it, which I do have.
So we are ready to move forward in that, but that's, I wanted to have that discussion because I wanted to let you know why that ordinance is being brought, and also that they're asking that we dedicate it back to them. Any questions?
Yeah, I talked to Chris about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a question if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What you got, Mike?
At 44, are there any drainage easements or anything there now that we would have to be concerned with in the future?
I would imagine that there would be, because as I said, there's a ditch that runs under there and all of that. But if we just need that alleyway back, those easements still run with the land. It does, the easement lot runs with the land, it doesn't change that. And we would make sure that we're doing it all correctly. I've already reached out to Limestone, who's handling the closing for the one property, to make sure that we have all the paperwork and that we're not missing anything. Because actually, this alleyway is not in a deed book. There's no, if you were to try to go find the, I know. I was like, what page, what deed book and page number? And they're like, it's not on there. And I'm like, okay, we don't have one. So it's just a plat. And that makes it a little,
So Chris, you guys aren't gonna do anything with it, you just want, you're gonna split the property there. The easement's still gonna be there if we had to get back to it for something.
Move my fence over 10 feet and it'll be part of the car lot.
Okay. Because obviously if we had to service, we wouldn't have to service it that way for anything anyway. Because a lot of times
No.
those easements, you need to get back in there, but we wouldn't have any reason to get there.
You wouldn't move up any closer to 44. You would just so,
Side,
yeah.
Take that 10 feet, turn it into the rest of the car lot, add it to the rest of the car lot.
And it sets back, so he's not going to be encroaching on any
You know what
potential
I'm talking about, though, right?
easement.
'Cause
Yes.
Because an easement, you have to have easements.
Yes,
between
he's not going
properties.
to be encroaching. And
Not a big
is
deal.
he going to pay? Is Mr. Foster going to pave any of it, or is he just going to keep it?
There's not gonna be much left, you know, because he's already in part of it right now. His sign is like the dead center.
His signs in it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna gravel and pave my side, but that only leaves him with like 3 or 4 feet of grass.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what he's gonna do with that.
But he wouldn't come up any further because, and his sign would probably remain there, which is
Yeah,
not
his sign's
encroaching.
gonna remain there, which will be on his property.
Okay. And I don't think his sign, even if it is encroaching, it's not a permanent, I mean, it's
could
2
move it
posts,
over.
they could move it if they needed to get to access the drainage and the sewer.
It's just a piece of property that's just, it hasn't been on paper, that just nobody's using it with, so we wanna make sure that you knew, we'd like to be able to close it off first and then deed it over to them.
Chris,
So-
are you gonna come up any further with your privacy fence?
No, it's not gonna be.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
Just to the, I guess, if you're looking at 44, be to the left,
Okay,
so.
all right,
Yeah, I got a sense that Mr. Foster wasn't probably gonna do much.
yeah.
I think this is more you kind of wanting a little bit more, and since his sign's in it, you're like, why not?
Earlier that we're, I'm trying to get a loan on the property right now, and as soon as I close this loan, we've already set the survey and everything to the, you know, the alley being closed. And, I'm gonna combine all my properties, take a loan, and we're gonna be investing $250,000 into Sims Auto Sales and Sims Auto Care. So, but yeah, just more space.
Okay,
Any other questions for anybody, council?
Thank you, Chris.
You guys good?
thank you, Chris.
All right, so you wanna, we'll do that, this is, yeah, we'll get to that. All right, so next, we have a resolution we've added to the, it's number 5 on your presentations, we just added that. It's just a resolution to declare, obviously with ARPA funds, we need to declare them, so we're obviously just gonna have a resolution, 023, 23-11, so if you could read that for us, please.
A resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by the U.S. Treasury to participate in the American Rescue Plan State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds ARP-SLRF program, authorizing mayor to have full authority on and authorizing the mayor to act as the authorized correspondent for the proposed project. Whereas city desires funding for expenses incurred due to the public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, on behalf of the residents of the city, and whereas it is recognized that SLRF funds are available to the city pursuant to the American Rescue Plan and impose certain obligations and responsibilities upon the city that require, among other things, 1, reporting to the U.S. Treasury with annual reports on eligible project spending of the SLRFs, and 2, other obligations of the city in connection with receiving the SLRF funds for the purposes stated herein. Whereas the proposed project of street paving would be an eligible expense under the following categories listed by the U.S. Treasury for the ARP-SLRF program. 1, government services. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky as follows. That the City of Shepherdsville has previously accepted a bid from Hall Paving, a division of Hall Contracting of Kentucky, and will use $388,000 of the funds provided by the ARP SLURF allocation to pave city streets as set out in said bid.
All right, just to add to that, I mean, what we basically did, if you look at your original money for Public Works, you had $800,000. So you had the first half of that actually in a resolution. This second half, you did not. We had to actually do this resolution because ARPA demands that we do that first. What you received in all of your, is itemized from Tom, was the list of Hall's projects. So you have the projects. This is the process that you have to go. You have to make, that you're gonna use this money for those projects listed through Hall. So I just wanna make sure that's why we did this resolution. Ms. Bonnie?
I just had to comment that I'm tickled that you nicknamed that Slurp.
Versus reading that letters.
She didn't want to read the letters are SLFRF, so
Slurp.
she changed
Slurp.
it to Slurp.
All right.
And I'll make a motion.
All right.
Bonnie did.
So Bonnie liked that part. All right. All right, can I get a roll call, please? See, that's the bright part of it. I mean, with everything else going on.
Okay. Ms. Mangus? Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Thank you all very much for that. All right, so new business, as I mentioned to you 2 weeks ago, and prior to that, I actually emailed you candidates named Jeremy Kubak that we had here last week, or last meeting, to give you a little idea who he was, and I've called each of you a little bit just to make sure my reasoning, what we're looking at, planning and zoning, future of Shepherdsville. We were obviously looking at what we wanted to do to continue scrutinizing the developments in our city over the next 10, 20 years. And so you do that by putting the people out there. So, Jamie, would you come up here for a minute? I don't know if anybody has any other questions, but we'll put you on the hot spot for a couple more minutes. And it's the hot spot right there. Good to see you. Just now you're in a hot spot. All right, but anyway, I didn't know if you guys had any other questions. Like I said, I reached out. Mike, we actually talked about it before, so I didn't actually call you today. I called the other 5. But I want to make sure at least all of them knew that, we had an opportunity. Most of them were pretty comfortable with everything, but I just want to make sure one last inquisition. If you guys had any questions or anything for Jeremy here. I just feel like, I guess, as I explained to you, as we continue to look at what we're doing on planning and zoning and code enforcement, the type of things we do, we want to try to put the best people we want to help us out with that. Engineering skill set, transportation, we know all about that, road impact, things that we need. And obviously, like I mentioned in the last meeting, we did mention the fact that he was already working on finding us grant money that would help us with some of these projects. So we appreciate that. So maybe the only nice things I say about you, Jeremy, but thought I'd get him out of the way. Now, all kidding aside, I'm glad to have you here, and I just want to make sure. So if you guys are cool with no more questions, I'd like to get a motion and a second for approval of Jeremy as our next member of the planning and zoning. Got a motion from Paula, second from Brad. Brenda, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Ms. Enlow?
Before I actually give you my vote, I just want to say that I think that Joe Son was doing a good job. He's been the mayor before. He knows a lot about this. I didn't get to speak with him, but Faith got to speak to him, and he was honorable about it. He still wanted to do it, but he's going to be agreeable with it. So the only reason I'm voting yes is because of what Joe said.
Okay.
Nothing personal with you.
No worries.
Ms. Portman?
Same with me. I mean, I spoke to Joe, and he was very nice about it. But I think of the world of him. He's always been so good to me, and he was a great mayor. So, but you get a yes from me, too.
Thanks, Brenda.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Mangus?
All right. Well, Jeremy, we're glad to have you part of our team, buddy. And then I'll reach out to John Miller and get him your contact information July 1st. Well, obviously, you won't be open July 1st. We'll make that July 3rd. All right. But we'll get you taken care of. Congratulations. We're glad to have you on our team, man. That wasn't so bad, was it? All right. Would you like to say anything, or you're more than?
Sure.
Huh?
Well, and with regard to Mr. Song, I'm happy for any input that he may have. Honestly, I'd love to pick his brain about the last few years.
No, I
not just
appreciate
for
it.
me, but for my neighbors.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate that very much and appreciate you being here. I'm glad to have you on the team, buddy.
That-
Thank you,
I
Jimmy.
would touch base with him if I was you, because he knows, you have to know how to run a meeting, and a lot of people that start out, they don't know how to do it, so he's very knowledgeable about things, so reach out to him. And if you need his number, I'll give it to you.
I would appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Faith. Appreciate that. All right. All right. We now have, Arthur, will you come up here, please? See how cordial he is with me? I love that. All right. You know, obviously, we're asking this, and this was kind of a short notice, so I apologize. We normally try to get to things a little quicker. And this one was, I think for all of us, kind of just dropped in there. So that goes along for me. Just take a couple of minutes just to explain a little bit this is and what we're doing here. We know the area. I think they've got it in there. Did you see that?
They have it in their email.
Yeah, they
Nancy.
got it in our
They have it
email.
there in there.
All right, so just quickly.
Meadow Sanitary Sewer, this project was started years and years ago. They picked it back up about a year and a half ago. New ownership moved in and finished the project. Since that project has been finished, we've had a third-party consultant out there that witnessed the testing as well as our staff, and then they've supplied all the video documentation. Sanitary sewers are complete, have been tested for vacuum tested, and also made sure that the video ran through, made sure everything was good. No pipe errors or no joints are offset or messed up or sags. And so everything passes the smell test, literally. So
Okay.
we're good to go ahead and take that over into our maintenance agreement. Now, pavement and restoration of all of the top side as far as curb, gutter and all of that, I'm not asking us to take over that yet. That's still in construction. But sanitary sewers are complete, ready for us to take over.
So I wanna make sure.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So what I read, and I might not have read all of it, because my head's a little fuzzy, but I read where it was, tested in 2015. Has it been tested since then?
That was the old section.
Okay.
And then the new section was recently tested. To
Okay.
make sure that everything passed.
Okay,
So the old section hasn't been it wasn't tested when you did the testing on the new section? Y'all didn't retest the old section?
No.
So can this end up being a problem?
Everything can end up being a problem. I don't see this as being a problem.
so how many homes is going on to this sewer system? I mean, I know it's like apartments, correct? Or
There are some
townhouse?
apartments that exist in that development toward the front of Nancy Drive, but on the back where this testing was done, right now they are scheduled single-family dwellings.
Okay. Does this include the mobile home park that's next to it? Because I know the same man owned it at one time.
No, it does
Okay.
not.
Because I know they had a lot of problems.
I believe that.
Yeah.
And is this in a flood zone at all, where this is all going in?
They can't build in it until they've built it out, so it wouldn't be in the flood zone if they were building.
And it's on the opposite side. It's on the, when you're going
Right,
down on
it's
the
on-
right-hand side.
It's on the right side, yeah.
Yeah.
Like where South Side Drive and all that, so
Yeah,
I
which
think
is right before you get to-
probably
yeah.
not.
You see it?
It's right before Chili Coop, ain't it?
No, well, it's not even
Yeah.
quite that far. You get before you get to south.
Okay.
It's on the same side of the road. And it's been really been delayed. A lot of that development, just, I don't know why it took so long. I'm not really sure. I know it's been, we've seen some of that around here.
So you put an A+ stamp on it?
She's ready to go.
I'll take your word for it. The big bucks, right?
All right, so, any other questions? We good?
I don't think.
Anything else here? Brad, Jennifer, good? Fine? All right. So I need a motion to approve this takeover. Oh, Mike, I'm sorry. Did you?
No, I asked.
He
him.
said
Oh, okay, okay. I need a motion to approve. And I need a second on that, please. So,
I'll make a motion.
make a motion from Brad. A second from Paula. Ms. Brenda?
Okay, Ms. Portman,
Yes.
Mr. Hibbard,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Mendez,
Yes.
Ms. Mangus, Ms. Enlow.
Yes.
Thank you all. Arthur? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Arthur.
All right. All right, looks like my city attorney's gonna be, our city attorney's gonna be a little bit busy. Well, if you wanna start with A there, this is gonna be 02332?
Yes.
All right.
Ordinance 023032, an ordinance relating to camping on public property in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullitt County, Kentucky. Summary number 1 provides that camping on public property, abandoned property, and/or vacant property within the city limits of the city of Shepherdsville for more than 4 consecutive hours during the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. is prohibited. 2, provides that camping on public property, abandoned property, and/or vacant property within the city limits of the city of Shepherdsville during the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. is prohibited. 3, provides that violations of this ordinance are classified as civil offenses and shall be enforced through the Code Enforcement Board. 4, provides a civil fine for violations of this ordinance in an amount not less than $50 and not more than $250 for each offense. 5, provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
And so does the public understand what we just read? Camping, our guidelines are in place to avoid some of the things that we've seen throughout the city. Seems like some of it's diminished a little bit here, but also we want to make sure that people are not in abandoned places. We've seen some of the homeless issues in some of these places. Now, we're still trying to find good solutions to help those in need, but right now we can't have them in unsafe structures. That's the first thing. That's not good for them as well as for the property. But also to make sure that it's understood for you guys when you read this, make sure that you understand that this will be enforced through code enforcement, okay? Because again, it's helping us making sure we're cleaning up as we said we were gonna do as far as the city is concerned. Not only with unsafe structures, but trying to find other ways to solve some of the things we see in the community, so. I wanna make sure that you heard that, I mean, obviously. Ms. Catherine?
And this was really near and dear to Bonnie, and she really wanted it to go through code enforcement and not be a criminal offense, just because a lot of these people are already struggling. So that's another reason why she just, felt like, she didn't want to punish these individuals, but we needed to do something, so. I don't mean to speak for you, Bonnie, but I felt like that was important to say, so.
Yeah, I think it's obviously gonna be a very sensitive conversation, but at the same time, we have a city to make sure that we uphold as far as the standards that we expect from everybody. So, again, we're looking on the other end of that too, to try to help those in need, so please keep all that in mind, we'll read some of these. All right, so next one, Ms. Catherine? Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
I just want to make sure, who sponsors the ordinance?
I didn't find it.
Bodies, yep. 02333.
An ordinance amending the Bullitt County City Zoning Ordinance and the Bullitt County City Zoning Map as amended, changing the zoning of 10.114 acres more or less located at Buckman Street and Bishop Lane in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullitt County, Kentucky, also known as parcel 036 SE006-004 from B2 business to R3 residential. Summary: 1, rezones approximately 10.114 acres located at Buckman Street and Bishop Lane in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullitt County, Kentucky from B2 business to R3 residential. 2, provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
R2, you wanna assist her with that? No? Do you have it up there, Emma?
Yeah.
All right, wanna make sure, okay. All right, so,
Hi, I'm Emily Vessels. I'm with Ensmore Shoal. I'm here with Chris Wilson, the property owner, and Ted Bernstein with LD&D to prepare the site plan. And we were in front of you guys, not last meeting, but last month, to discuss the site plan, and then we went in front of the planning commission and received a favorable recommendation for the rezoning to, residential. So we just wanted to go over it again with you all.
Emily, did you guys have a better renderings of the actual,
We tried to get those, but I do not have those.
yeah, I would like to have something for the council here
Yeah,
to
we'll
see.
go to the next
This is
meeting.
very important, you guys see what they're gonna look like.
Yeah, I don't have anything from like the planning zoning.
No, I didn't.
There was no paperwork on that.
Right. It was in your email.
Is this on?
That's the one, if you wanna take a look at that real quick. Toby, as you get that done, Chris, I just wanna make sure, do we have all the paperwork, all the licenses, all that all squared away?
He presented all that stuff.
We've got his, it's in the flood zone, and he has received a floodway plain permit, and then he's working on everything else.
Okay.
So, as you guys know, this property is located on North Upland Street, right off the I-65
Is there a way
highway
to turn
and
it?
North Preston Highway. And the development is proposed to be luxury townhomes, and the property consists of 9.41
Emily, how many dwellings was it gonna have in there?
I believe it was 80, sorry.
So 80 in the 9 point some odd acres, okay.
Yeah, 80 units, and then the plan commission said that, they capped it at 80 units, couldn't go, above 80 units. They're worried about apartments going in there, so, and we just assured them it's gonna be townhomes, so they want us to put that condition on the zoning, to ensure that.
Would the council agree with me that you wanna definitely see some renderings of this, right? Before we go any,
Absolutely.
make sure that we have something before our next meeting. I mean, we'd like to have something in the next few days that would show us what you're,
I was gonna say, what do they have shown?
what, can you, is that it right there, Arthur?
Yeah, these are similar.
Yeah, that was the ones we saw before.
These are similar to the ones you all saw last time, but we'll try to get something more.
I need something a little more, would you not agree? I would like to see
Do
something
you
a
want
little
more
bit.
of a global plan? Like, in other words, do you wanna see kind of the whole
I wanna see
schematic
the,
layout?
is that the,
Detail of what it would look like.
what do you guys, I'm asking you guys, what do you think? You want, I mean, I'm looking,
More information, but I'm still standing on the fact that we're going in, but flooding everybody in Bishop Lane when we do this.
When you talk global, you mean like
just an area.
So when he was talking about a larger plan, like something more like that, where you all can see kind of where this goes, and, you know, what we're looking at, a little bit more like that maybe.
Okay, yes.
Then also maybe whoever's developing and doing the engineering,
That's the one
maybe
it
they
is.
could show a plan about how they're going to address potential flooding, what drainage they're putting, so that it can
Yeah.
address your concerns.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss that today, and then I know, Joe also discussed that with us at the planning commission, kind of, we have it sort of laid out here, the drainage plan to the basin to address that. And obviously, you guys know this property is currently vacant, and, this would just fill in the area, provide the appropriate density transportation. That's all about.
I think the last meeting we had was, lots of concern with the drainage on the
Mhm.
one down here. The way he's got it laid out, he's got the, drainage going into the retainer pond, and he's got, engineer working on the calculations and everything on the retainage basin, on the storage capacity and everything, and the outlet will go out into the stream here that exists already. So you'll have this much retainer, so all of this area that existing already drains into the ditch
Mhm.
already, so we're building this up and putting it into the retainer, so it's gonna relieve, actually gonna relieve and weep out, you know, on, so it'll actually take a little bit of water off of the situation
Yeah, that's our biggest concern.
at a downpour.
There's not a basin there currently.
No, and I saw that on the map. That's why I said, Bonnie, I mean, that's what they're gonna do. And I agree with Bonnie. We're very concerned with that because of our floodplain.
And
We
then
wanna make sure where the water's
each
going.
of the units, we propose, they're around 2,400 square foot, 3 bedroom, 4 bath, with a roof deck, 2-car garage. They'll be nice units. I mean, we can scale down if we have to. I can take the complete 3rd floor off and scale down
Yeah, you
on
mentioned
that
that before.
if the economy doesn't, but if it does work, I mean, it's just gonna increase the value.
No, we appreciate it.
What's the average price that you're expecting of these?
We're shooting for like 450
Okay.
if we do the plan that we're.
Okay,
that we're
and
on.
there are other neighborhoods around, so what are the prices of those homes going for about right now?
They're going like around $180 a square
Okay.
foot, and that's where we're at, it's about $180 a square foot.
Okay.
You said these are 2,400?
But 2,400 square foot is pretty.
That's a pretty big place.
Okay, Saturday I was out riding around, so I stopped on Bishop Lane, and then I got out and talked to some of the residents there. One of them talked to Miss Coleman, and I was just asking her what her thoughts were. And she wasn't in favor of it for the flooding issue and, you know, all the water drainage. And the road is right now, it's currently just one way, correct? Bishop Lane?
There'll be 2 ways.
Yeah, and so she's concerned about that because the road is very narrow right now, very narrow. So it's mainly the flooding, and the road is really very narrow. And just the increase in traffic was what I was hearing.
The main entrance will be off of Lubbock here. This will be the main entrance.
They discussed that at the planning.
This will be like a exit, emergency exit or what have you. And I would say that the people back here will probably use that entrance. But probably the most part of the people will use the main entrance up here on Lubbock Street. You're talking about down here on Bishop Lane.
Bishop Lane, yeah.
And actually the flooding part of it, what I was explaining earlier is we're bringing this up and it's all going into a drainage. All the gutters on these are going into green space. All this area here is gonna be green space. So it's gonna be filtered by the soil. And so we'll be catching, you know, the roadways and stuff like that, which will drain into the retainer pond here. And the retainer pond will fill on a downpour. It'll fill. It'll have a small release that'll release out into the existing stream that goes through here now. And actually, the way it's designed right now, all this water goes over on them. So it's going to kind of relieve that. It's going to hold the water and release it a little slower. And usually the flooding that goes on over there, it's in a downpour situation where a flash flood, it builds up fast, it drains off fast, but it builds up fast. So this will be designed to correct that.
And with the current zoning being commercial, you'll see a lot more green space with the residential property on here, which will help mitigate the flooding as well.
You said your engineer was still working on that portion?
I'm sorry?
Did you say your engineer was still working on that portion with the water flow and the,
Yes,
when does he
engineer
think that he would get,
with the LD&D, Global Land and Development.
okay,
His engineer, this is Ted with LD&D, and his engineer is working on the design of the retainer pond and the design of all the drainage.
okay. When do you think your engineer would have that design at a pretty good point where it could be shared with council so that they could look at it? And if they wanted to ask, you know, Arthur or whomever to look at it, when do you think they would have that? Because I'm sensing that that's a big concern. So you might, feel like you might need to get that information sooner rather than later.
Right, and we run that kind of fine line where you've got a guy that wants to do a development, and he doesn't want to throw $80,000 into, you know, engineering plans when he doesn't get his zoning. And then all of a sudden, you've spent all this money and you don't have a project. And essentially, you've wasted, so it's very hard to have absolute concrete, here's your construction drawings. Take that to the board and show them. And then if they're denied, then they get stuck with it.
I want to add to that, though. First of all, the basin's going to help that. I mean, if you look at the way the drainage, I'll give you that. The thing is for us that we want to make sure, from the time you start to when it's finished, how long is it? Just a rough estimate. I know there's always supply chain and staffing issues.
If I get the go-ahead, it's probably gonna take me probably 8 months, probably for the groundwork, and probably 18 to 2 years on the building project, so we're probably looking at probably 3 years.
Yeah, so one of the things that the city hasn't done, okay, and this goes along with the county, is to be able to monitor those projects. So yes, I can understand him not investing the money right away, but I can assure you, if this is approved by this council, we will have our engineer and have our folks watching what you told us you're gonna do. And I'm not being mean to you, I just think that's not happened enough. If you look at some of the developments through our city over the last 10, 15 years, you can see and go, how did that get built? Because so much of it is not supervised along the way.
Right.
And we have to do a better job of making sure that step by step. And again, this is kind of the new feel for this council and for myself as well. That, again, we've been burned a little bit, okay? And so we want to take it.
Makes sense, and you know, we obviously have to work with Arthur, I mean, we have to have his approval on everything.
Yep.
The nice thing about engineering is it's mathematical.
Sure.
It works or it doesn't work. Arthur isn't gonna approve something that the math doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, our intention is to at least take, you know, pre-development runoff is gonna be held on site and released at a rate that is no greater, if not maybe less, than pre-development. So post-development has to equal our pre-development, you know, and with Arthur's help and figuring all those things out, you know, we should be at least control the water on our site. And I think that's the, you know, we can't fix the entire system, we can't fix the entire area.
No, we get it.
But we certainly can, you know, our engineers work in floodplains quite a bit. We're fairly, you know, adept at doing this kind of work. And so, I mean, all I can say is that he's not gonna be approved by any of the approval agencies if the stormwater doesn't work.
I understand. I just want to make sure you guys heard that, because that's one of the things I think we can do, if we do actually approve this for you all up here, is that we'll do the things to make sure we're monitoring a little closer. That's the development part of it, because again, we've had other people tell us what they're gonna do, and then it ends up not being what it's supposed to be. So again, nothing towards you, but again, I can appreciate this council. Mike, did you want to?
I'm just simply saying that if this is approved, then the next step is to have your site plans
Construction, yeah.
presented to the county.
Yeah.
They get the site plans, they
But
approve
what-
the site
but-
plans.
Yeah, but one of the things too, Mike, I want to add to this is that we're partnering up more with our county, because
Right.
once things are released, they watch the development, and they're like everybody else. They don't always have the staff. So we are probably going to try to find ways with everything we've got going on to support that partnership with them, to make sure we're monitoring each project, not just yours.
And they
That would
submit
be
to
very
Arthur
similar
as well.
to many other, you know, smaller cities or.
Sure.
And I think that's a great thing. I mean, this is in your backyard.
Absolutely.
And, you know, talking to Chris, I will say this about this housing type. I mean, this is something that's really desired because not many people actually build fourplexes.
No, I get it.
It's typically single-family homes or three-story apartments. I see it every day. And I can tell you that most guys want to do three-story apartments because the money's better.
Sure.
I mean, frankly. And so when he came to us with this project, I was actually excited. And that, I'm being honest by saying that. This is not a product that we typically see. We saw it a lot back in the 80s. Fourplexes kind of disappeared, and I think it was mostly for financial reasons. And now we have a guy that's proposing to do this, and I think it's a great step between different types of housing. I really do.
Yeah, I do want to make sure that we understand that we still have a focus on housing. So this council is not against housing, neither am I. We just want to make sure the developments that we see coming in, Chris, we do appreciate that, because from a residential standpoint, we're looking for this. So again, we're looking for those partners, and we appreciate your interest, but I just know, like the council, we always have those questions we have, okay? Anything else from you guys?
What made us choose this area for this project is my question.
Well,
Because the area is not appealing to people who wanna buy a $450,000. I feel like my mouth is big enough. But I feel like, you know, like people, I mean, if you're wanting to buy a $450,000 home, do you really want warehouse lights shining on your house? Do you really wanna drive in between Speyside and Big O? I mean, it was zoned
I'm gonna
business for a reason, because that, to me, that is
We're gonna
more
have
suitable
a-
for business.
We're gonna have a tree line that goes down through here, those, large, and the tree line will separate the area, and the tree line will go down through here. And it'll
But what
also
I'm saying is,
go down
these
through here.
people who buy this home have to drive by that. I mean, that's, hey, come to my house, but I live between Speyside and Big O. So your friends have to drive by that to get to this beautiful home. I mean, they're beautiful. But I'm just wondering why we're picking this area for this kind of development.
Well,
I mean,
we
it just doesn't fit to me.
We were operating the car lot here, and we're moving our car lot down to Sparrow, down to 330 Sparrow. And we purchased the land initially. We were gonna put like a strip mall or something like that in there.
Which I could see, because, I mean, it's in a business
But
area.
I do
it's on
think
business.
that the neighbors around there probably would oppose that more than a residential development. And then in a strip mall, I mean, I'm gonna invest my money in something, and it's gonna be a residual income throughout the collection over the years.
initially bought the, because we sell RVs and stuff, and I was kind of cramped up in here, and I was gonna put RV storage and expand the lot. But then when we got the opportunity of the lot down in Sparrow, right on the highway, then we decided to do this with the way that we are going.
I have a question. Have you ever done a project this size?
I have, but not for myself.
Okay.
I've done many
okay.
projects this size, but not for myself. I've, done the work on projects.
So this would be your first?
Speak on first for myself, yeah.
Yeah.
So have we done a traffic study or anything? Because we're gonna add 80 new homes. 80 new homes, there's gonna be 4 to 5 people in each home.
So what you have there is you have Preston's 4 lanes. It's not like 44, which has the intensity of that. That traffic's gonna be able to handle that.
But it's horrible. Getting in and out of Ballard Lake is a nightmare, you know.
I mean, conversation, yeah, we can, you're gonna see traffic concerns wherever we go. And again, I'm not siding with anything, I just wanna make sure you know that if you're looking at that versus, looking at what we would do on 44, we're looking at which way we can put homes in that we're gonna best suit growing the community.
As far as the price point goes, we could reduce, if I could take the whole 3rd floor off and probably reduce the price point by $100,000.
I think the only concern that most of us have is that we know the demographics of our city. And we know we like the idea that you're building something like that. It's a little, if you look at that area, like Jennifer mentioned, and some of the concerns that Paula mentioned, that's the reason why they're mentioning it to you, because we don't have that anywhere but like one place in the whole city that has that. I mean, it could be. This is all just conversation now. Listen, we appreciate you coming out here. We're moving along like this. For these guys, they're just going to ask their questions. But again, we have a second reading in place. This is for the public too. I mean, obviously, if there's any comments by anybody in the public about this property, yes, Lisa. Absolutely. Come on up here.
Can I ask something real quick?
Absolutely. Oh, you know, I'm sorry, Bonnie. I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question?
You keep it ready. Keep it ready.
Can I ask something real quick?
Sure.
Where are some of the places that you have built? I mean, so if we wanted to drive by some of the,
Well, recently we did the renovation to the football stadium,
mhm,
on the backside of the football stadium.
mhm,
We did the arches on the Patterson baseball stadium,
mhm.
as you enter the baseball stadium.
Oh, cool.
We've done Taylor Boulevard, Government Center back years ago.
Mhm.
I mean, we've done a lot of big projects.
Okay. Have you done any residential homes or apartments in the area?
We did 4 places out on Greenhurst.
Greenhurst?
Greenhurst on Hirschhorn Lake.
Okay.
We did the development on Terry Lane.
Mhm.
We did the development on Taylorsville Road,
Mhm.
at the bottom of the hill there.
Mhm. Okay.
Those are all 4-plex condominium.
Mhm.
We did a development over by Standard Country Club, which is
Mhm.
4-plex condominium
Mhm.
complex.
Okay.
All right, Chris, we'll is
Thank you.
Lisa, you want to come up here, please? First of all, I want to say, you okay? I heard you in a...
Good, thank you. We'll discuss that. My name is Lisa Carter. I think most of you all know me. I own 2 properties on Bishop Lane. I owned those properties for 18 years. Since Adam Shepard went in and the turning lane turns right onto 61 North, there is a drawing on the yellow legal pad. If you're on Preston Highway at Adam Shepard going north, the 2 lanes going north, slow lane, fast lane. Then you have the turning lane that's a designated turning lane to Adam Shepard. So anytime that you make a right-hand turn to turn left onto Bishop, you are immediately, as I was tonight, in the fast lane sitting there, and a couple people gave space for me to cross over into Bishop, and I got hit from front bumper and spun my truck completely around, sitting this way, and I was this way in the slow lane at Bishop Lane this evening. That's why I was late getting here. The road on Bishop Lane, as if you're on drops off pretty good where the two tiles go under the road. If you all went and looked at this property, you realize that the Pioneer News is behind it. There's a ditch line that runs behind Pioneer News, runs between Mr. Moore's house, my house, the ditch line and two culverts, which always backs up, as you can see in the pictures. The water backs up into my front yard. It never backed up into my second property until they started filling all the dirt in 8 months ago, 6 months ago, whenever they decided to do that. There are no sidewalks on Bishop Lane, so my question is if this is approved, is the developer gonna put sidewalks on both sides of Bishop Lane to accommodate the citizens and the children that live on that street? Or is the taxpayers gonna have to pay to have that done, since there's never been any sidewalks on that street with 6 homes in it? They have recently, rerouted the, natural drain that used to come down through here, and it would come through here, and, it would come down through here and come out through here to Big O. They have routed it down this way now, and it turns here. So it doesn't even appear that this waterway is even gonna go into here because of this property being separate. This ditch was recently formed with no rock, so all this is gonna do with the rains that we've had is gonna silt in like it did back over here behind the barn several years ago when they raised it up. And the tiles that I'm referring to are right here. They go over, so they filled all this dirt in behind, it silted all the ditch in here. So as you can see from the pictures that I've given, you can see that all of this floods horribly. And it gets up beside my house, and the gentleman beside me has a basement over here in this house where the waterway is through here. I'm not happy with the road accessing Bishop Lane, because this is what happened to me this evening crossing the road when the traffic was completely stopped in those 2 lanes. If this development goes in, I would also like to see some berms and some evergreens, some trees go in. I'm just asking that you all not make an access from Bishop, because it will be a nightmare, and our police department will be continuously, and the fire department will be continuously having wrecks there.
So a couple things you mentioned on the sidewalks. We don't have any place that we have sidewalks like that. We have Beach Grove Road that has sidewalk on one side. We have Conestoga with the same thing. So obviously, we're asking, I appreciate it. I think we should look at a sidewalk area on one side, to be fair about that. I think the road itself can be developed. That's a city road. That's what I'm saying.
But
There's,
very narrow.
if we're, again, I think there's probably some look at that. There's projects throughout there. One of the things I want to mention about the water, Lisa, unfortunately for us, we have a number of reasons why that water's there. It starts with that blue lick that we're working on right now. That's gonna alleviate, because look at the flooding that I saw in these pictures. Looks like the flooding in front of the 2 schools. So until we fix some of the major water problems, again, they are responsible for fixing the water flow off of that property. What's happened all around it is gonna be hard for that developer to take care of that. Again, I'm not siding with them, I completely understand your comments, but we've gotta be careful of how we develop these areas, that we don't ask the one developer to do something that's been a history of a problem with the city. I'm not siding with them, I just wanna keep it realistic that we've gotta ask people to invest in our city. We've gotta ask them to bring in housing, which is, we are desperately needing it. Again, we need to look at the things that we can do to make it better. I think everybody's challenged it, that's fine. I think your questions are pertinent to everything here. But we don't make decisions based on making sure that we look at everything that we can make it a zero-sum game. Flooding is gonna be an issue for us, and we're gonna have to work through that. Traffic is obviously another obstacle. You know, there's not gonna be a light put there. But the thing is, well, and again, somewhere along the development it could be, but again, since they made it 4 lanes, look at the speed of that road. That in itself has created most of the problem. I guarantee you going the other way towards 65, it's just like a speedway. So some of your concerns are just realistic about the city looking at it, and I think it's that. Your concerns about the development, I think we need to challenge them, especially on the water runoff and then the road. So we'll work on those 2
The other
things.
thing, behind these houses here, there's apartments all behind. way up, it comes around, and then it hits this line. So when this line is backed up, they actually flow all of their water through these yards and flood these yards. And that's something that should not be happening either, because of all of this being such a mess. Because it takes a 90, and they cleaned this out 2 years ago, that when this ditch line fills up, because it comes from all the way from Blue Lick, all the way down, and takes this turn, and then comes down this line here, and then goes this way. So that's a problem when it's 3 inches up on my foundation, going in my crawl spaces.
I totally understand. Like I said, I think the water problem is not so much specifically to one. The cause and effect of what they develop here could be a little bit of it. But we have a bigger problem of looking at things that we can do within the city. And KIPTA is going to be a help of that. Arthur knows this because we've talked about that KIPTA line is going to be a big deal, which we think is going to happen next year. And if it does, that's going to alleviate a lot of the water problems on both sides of Blue Lick, which is causing some of the problem on the north side of that road. And so what we have to do is take a look at making sure. And for you gentlemen, if you look, what she's talked about, if you look at your water, if you guys will come up here for a minute, the point that she made, I think, it's a good point. Is if you look at your basin there, what she's talking about is the road off Bishop. That water is coming off the top there. Is that water going to drain into that basin? The top part. Lisa, show them at the top of that basin what you were talking about.
It comes down through here and behind these homes. It doesn't come this way and go down to these tiles. It goes this way and comes back up and down and then that way. So when all of this is backed up, this is flooding all of these yards. I've seen Mr. Moore's vacant lot have 5 inches of water standing in it.
You should see the two elementary schools, the schools.
As far as
Hard to see all those.
Yeah, that's not his.
This is burn going in, this is burn going in, this is your main drain. This is gonna be your retainer pond. The water level of that pond's gonna be down.
I do understand that, but where is this water from all of this area? Because you all have dug a ditch.
I did investigate because I think what's happening, it all drains through here.
To the railroad crossing.
It goes through large culverts on the other side of the railroad track. There's a lot of beaver dams over there, and they're clogging things up.
They are.
And they need to be removed
Well,
about every 3 or 4 months.
We are working that. We've seen that already flooding on the backside.
I sat on this council for 6 years. This was an issue for the last 3. It had flooded Mr. Joyner's property for 3 years across the way, because the water would get up under his
So
building.
Arthur, let's do this. Obviously,
And the other thing is I'm asking the council, when y'all go to vote on this, to not put this exit here for Bishop Lane, because as this is down here, there's, not as much traffic. The traffic flow is more wide open. There is a turning lane. I think it would be safer for anybody going into their properties to turn from here.
Lisa, that's one of the things I was gonna ask, is not have an exit out onto Bishop Lane, since it is a small road used only by very few people, maybe a fence going down there through to give them their area so they don't feel like they're a part of yours. I mean, it doesn't have to be like some giant fence, but just a fence to go down there. So that way they can't try to drive through to that road, and that keeps that private road there.
I think what comes to mind for me is fire safety, like just having one entrance.
yeah, you gotta have another, you can't have just one exit.
For a complex, that
Cannot.
you've gotta have.
Gotta have 2.
Well, you can have a gate that the fire can open.
Sure, but I feel like restricting.
Arthur, would you like to add something to this?
But the road's not wide enough to make a turn there with a fire truck.
So one of the things that was mentioned to me by the traffic engineer that you guys hired tonight for free was the fact that we could increase safety in a great deal and hopefully save Lisa from having one of these accidents again, because Lisa was put in a terrible position tonight, had a horrible incident happen to her. There's a great way to try to protect her from that. So instead of her gaining access to her property on Bishop Lane by driving straight into Bishop, if she was able to go further down beyond the intersection and come into this development, because it was all
You know
clogged.
what? People don't want to come through someone else's development when they have homes here. They've had them for umpteen years. They were there first.
Were you safe tonight?
I'm living, yes.
So what I'm saying is, I want to be able to protect the person that isn't.
But what I'm saying is, the way that the red light is set there, it's got a natural, it is a designated turning lane to turn onto Adam Shepherd. If you have
Doesn't mean that's right, though. You really should have two exits. You really should have two exits. And there's a lot of development we've seen in the city, that's why it's not being done right. But I appreciate your comments, I really do. All
I
right.
also feel like if it stayed a commercial property, there would be a lot more traffic and people going in and staying at their home, coming out.
Yeah, let's make sure that I will give it to Arthur, and we'll look at more of that water. I mean, the biggest thing is we do, I think Lisa's comments about the water. Bonnie, you had something you want to?
I already did.
Oh, yeah, all right, making sure. Anybody else? Because again, we appreciate it. Like I said, the biggest thing for us is renderings. We want to see that, and obviously as we get, these guys need to spend some time looking at all this. I know we spent a little bit of time on this, but at the same time, I just want you all to know I appreciate my council wanting to do this, because we want to know more of what's going on.
Emily, I would just say, I understand the cost, but any extra information, drawings, any extra information that your engineer could do at not a great cost to give to the council, I would just encourage you guys to do that. I do understand the cost, so we're not asking for detail, but if there's something that he can do, you know, whip up in an hour or two where it's not a huge cost, that might address some of these issues. Arthur could review, then they could go talk to Arthur. I would just really encourage to do that, Emily. So, and of course, you know, feel free to reach out to me if you've got any questions.
Let's make sure we stay in a dialogue here so we can get things back to the council, okay? All right. Thank you all for coming up here. I appreciate it.
The sooner the better.
Yep, yep. Thank you, Emily.
Brad, can you hand me that folder? Thank you.
All right. 023-034, please. Ms. Catherine?
An ordinance amending the Bullock County City zoning order and the Bullock County City zoning map as amended, changing the zoning of 1.1 acres more or less located at 190 Old Preston Highway South in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, also known as parcel 037E0015003, from R3 residential to B1 business. Summary. Number 1, rezones approximately 1.1 acres located at 190 Old Preston Highway South in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, from R3 residential to B1 business. 2, provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
Was there a map for this one?
This was the old, you remember the old veterinary when you go through the viaduct in Salt River that was on the left-hand side? I think it was Clay, I think.
Yeah, it's right before it. You can see the river.
Yeah.
It's just a little
It's
place.
right before Discount
you come
Auto.
On the right side.
Right for what?
Discount Auto, just
Okay.
right before it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yep,
They had a run-down house and stuff there.
yeah.
Yeah, they put something there?
Yeah, they're actually gonna put, Hadley Electric is gonna build
Now,
a place.
that did flood.
Well, I got-
It's-
I got a
it's
map.
up there, yeah, they've
Yeah,
got some zoning.
There's a part.
But I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, right? They had like two run-down places there, right before you get on the right.
I know.
Right
Yeah, I
off
think it
one
was
place.
three buildings that kind of fell down, didn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. So what this guy,
I'm gonna text it to her.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
One
for the
you
fact
sent
that
me.
somebody is willing to take an area that we have that needs to be cleaned up and put a business there, you know, he's got some zoning he'll have to deal with, right, as far as the flooding area. But it's a little bit elevated. If you look at where it's at, you see the river.
I was gonna say, is it one spot of it?
I texted to you today, Jennifer.
Yeah.
And part of it, some of it is in the floodplain, but he will have to build it up or put the building where there's no flooding.
They can elevate
you
it,
know.
they can elevate it.
Yeah,
Well, he can't put it in the flood.
right, he can't,
Not without extensive.
probably,
Yeah.
but
He
you
got-
know,
He
Bonnie,
can,
who-
but
did
he'd
you
have
say
to
that, Bonnie? Yeah,
pay
he
a
got
lot
it.
of money.
but Hadley takes care of his places, so.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and I think that's why I said, I just like it when we have a place that's eyesore to us, that's gonna be cleaned up and for us to utilize, so.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
What are the plans for it, though? I
He's
didn't
gonna
hear.
build a business, he's electrician. It's
Okay,
Hadley,
a
Hadley
place,
Electric.
okay.
He has a
Absolutely.
business, out off of Chappies, and he might be gonna use it for storage or something, I
Just
don't
go ahead.
know.
He's
That's
a-
something
he's a
we
good
can
guy.
ask him.
They're cleaning it up now.
I'll call him.
Absolutely.
Started. Yeah, it looks, already
I get
looks
excited
better.
when I see stuff like that. All right, is there anybody here to, on a public notice about this property, anybody? We want to make sure today's the public hearing for each of these annexations or zoning changes. All right.
Got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I went back, you guys moved too fast.
All right.
Who sponsored the,
Mike.
033 ordinance?
34?
33, the last one, on Mr. Wilson.
He just comes into,
Mike.
they come in, Mike, to make
I
that,
understand, who would sponsor the ordinance?
that would have been I mean, from our standpoint, no. I mean, this is just them coming in to get in a.
If the city council doesn't take it up, then it will pass whatever the planning commission proposed.
Understand, but
So,
all our ordinances require sponsor, whether it's voted down or not, right?
On the zoning and.
On any ordinance.
So, but we don't support, we're not going, we've never actually ever, Mike, go and annex a piece
Well,
of property. We don't go up, we don't have a council member coming up, and we've never done that. I've ever seen here.
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying an ordinance, does it not, Tom? An
On
ordinance
annexations?
Require.
I can
thought
tell you, that's
any-
not.
I thought any ordinance that was proposed required
But this is
a sponsor.
Who's gonna, who come, I mean, it's never been that.
You don't have to pass or anything.
I mean, I can tell you right now, I've never seen it, as long as I've been coming to council meetings, I'm just gonna tell you that nobody's ever sponsored somebody.
so a council member is supposed to sponsor, because only council members really are the ones that bring ordinances to the table. So if nobody wants to sponsor this, then it'll just get passed how planning commission wanted it. So
Yeah, but I mean, in
somebody
history.
would like to sponsor it, because if not, if nobody sponsors it and we don't read it, then it will get passed. So that apartment building, if you all don't like it and you all don't do an ordinance, it will get passed.
With only the restrictions that.
However planning commission did it, that decision
Okay.
will stand, and you have 60
With that
days.
explanation,
We'd like to be in control of
You
that.
have 60 days, so.
with,
So
I was
Bonnie's
say,
gonna
I
sponsor
would
30.
have with that explanation knowing, but Bonnie did, okay.
So you're gonna, Bonnie, you're gonna sponsor 33,
Very good.
and are you sponsoring 34?
Yes.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
So Mike, moving forward, we've never done that, so what we wanna do is, you guys know right now, if that's what we're gonna do, just remember, on any of these
Right.
annexations or rezoning, that needs to make
Right.
sure.
Any-
Okay, I'm just gonna,
any-
because if it don't, it goes what it is, so.
Right,
And that's why I
like-
said it's always brought up and everybody's just voting.
Like she said, if it does not have a sponsor here, then it just,
Okay.
after
No ways
60
at all.
days, it reverts to
So-
what planning and zoning recommends.
So the next ordinance is 023035, which is amending 2.0 acres. Before I read it, would somebody like to sponsor that bill?
Oh, I was gonna say it.
Great, all right.
You're not getting old, Lori.
Faith put that
Okay,
one?
so I'm gonna.
Yeah, she got it.
So, ordinance 023035, an ordinance amending the Bullock County City Zoning Order and the Bullock County City Zoning Map as amended, changing the zoning of 2.0 acres more or less located at 245 Forest Hill Road in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, also known as parcel 037-000-00-051, from AG Agricultural to R1 Residential. Summary, number one, rezones approximately 2.0 acres located at 245 Forest Hill Road in the city of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, from AG Agricultural to R1 Residential. Two, provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
And that's,
That's it. I'll sponsor the next one.
Who did?
Well, I was gonna say,
Bonnie?
maybe Faith would sponsor that one since she had talked to Mr. Sims, but if you'd like to.
so,
We can have two sponsors.
there we go. We got it covered then. All right.
Okay.
So this is for public hearing, if
Yeah,
there's
so
anybody
let's
to
go back
speak
to
out?
the
The 245? Forest Hill, anybody? Okay.
I'm one buying.
Oh.
You're the one buying it?
All right,
Okay.
then you're good.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna assume you're for it then, right? All right, we got that done, all right. Thank you, sir, for being here.
She's
All
got
right.
a question for you.
What are the plans for the property?
It's the rest of the property,
Uh-huh,
it's for sale.
okay. So how many homes do you expect to, are they gonna be built, are they gonna be modulars, or what?
And right now, we really don't know, we don't have no prospective buyers.
Okay,
He's buying that to total up his property.
mhm,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, he's-
That's his property.
all right. Thank you.
Bless you.
Okay, so ordinance 023036, which is sponsored, I guess, by both Bonnie and Faith. An ordinance providing for the closure pursuant to KRS 82.405 of a right-of-way described herein and depicted on the consolidation alley closure exhibit plat attached here to, consent being obtained from all adjoining landowners. Summary. 1, provides for the closing of the right-of-way described in the attached Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference, as if set out in full herein, due to the consent of the adjoining landowners and the determination by the city council that the right-of-way serves no purpose. 2, provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
That's what you went over with you guys, so everybody's good on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the
Didn't
same
you guys have any other questions?
Anything for small businesses.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so next one on the list?
Okay, 023037, do I have a sponsor for this one? Okay, Brad, okay, so this is being sponsored by Brad. An ordinance pursuant to KRS 81A.412, annexing into the city of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, by consent of all property owners, a parcel of real estate currently owned by the Bullock County School District Finance Corporation and located at Audubon Drive, Shepherdsville, Kentucky 40165, and known as Bernheim Middle School, all is more particularly described and illustrated in and on exhibits to this ordinance. Summary, number 1, annexes and makes part of the city a tract of approximately 21.95 acres located at Audubon Drive, Shepherdsville, Kentucky 40165, and known as Bernheim Middle School, adjacent to the city by request and written consent of the property owner, Bullock County School District Finance Corporation. 2, provides that after annexation, the property will remain subject to the same land use restrictions as applied prior to annexation. 3, provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
All right, so I know I talked to briefly about giving you some history on this, so everybody understand?
I know some of the history.
Okay, I want to make sure that this council, obviously you got all your facts, because
So the city ran sewers here, correct?
that's right. We were asked to run it, and the agreement was made at the time. The city council was actually going to approve annexing that property, which was almost 3 years ago. Now, I will tell you that the city has invested over $1.7 million, and we have nothing to show for that, except for the fact they're actually out of the city and are receiving our sewer. Now, obviously, we all know the elephant in the room is the Jim Beam situation. It's been a part of our city for a long time as far as the sewer. But I think it's important for us as a city. Our sewer department is part of our growth, and we need to use that very cautiously in what we do with that. We know that obviously the sensitivity of the industrial warehouses and compared to our residential and our commercial. We've talked a lot about that. The concern is obviously now with the annexation process that they have right now is the county has a review of it over a 40-day period. So I want to make sure that you all are aware of that. And basically, it's just a review at that time. They can either waive the 45 days or after those 45 days, we are allowed. I had talked to the judge executive. We are actually not going to read the second reading until July 10th to give them that review time, which was in the statutes that just came through. So, but for us, this has been to be honest with you, a situation where the city was fully taking advantage and our taxpayers paid quite a bit of money. What we want to do is be able to regulate what's built in these areas. And so this area was a commitment made that we want to fulfill. There could be different opinions about that, and I expect to hear from all of you about that. But I think the key in this is that at least look at it, research it, and understand what we've been through. Your concerns, whatever they might be, I appreciate hearing those, and we will be doing that. If you have things now, I'd love to hear them, but I think it's important for you to understand why this is all transpiring now when this should have been taken care of 3 years ago. But the fact is that it is, and the fact that we're in a situation, the only recouping of any money that we would get is that obviously we look at the occupational tax, it is some money that's going to be given back to us. But we want to make a commitment to anybody in the surrounding areas, and I know there are people here and people out there in the public that need to know that we are going to make sure that we control what's put in the areas that they need to be when it comes to the warehouses, when it comes to our commercial and our residential. And I think you guys have already shown that in the 6 months already, that we're not going to build anything that we don't need to build. But I wanted you to hear that from me first, because I know we've talked about it. But it's very open for discussion now, and I don't know that this is not obviously for the public.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It's probably a silly question. I'm not really sure though, because I know they're basically like a government. So do they pay sewer rates? Oh, sorry, Lloyd. Like commercial sewer rates, they don't, do they?
They don't.
Schools don't.
So they pay our rate. So within the city, okay, they pay our rates not being part of the city, okay? Now, are we gonna get into a situation? Hang on, Stephen. I'll let you know. Are we gonna have a two-tier for sewer rates? And then if you're not in the city, you pay this rate? And then we gotta start making deals with everybody else around us? Or do we need to stay in the preference of that our growth needs to be controlled? It needs to be the right thing for the city and the county, because that's obviously who we are going to be dealing with in most cases, like in this case with the county right now.
But they are in the city,
They're not in the city.
if we put them in the city,
They're not in the city.
but this is what this is about, isn't it?
We are putting them in the city so
Right.
that our sewer is tied into the city function, and it again would be the occupational tax. That we would incur some reimbursement for the money that was actually agreed upon at the time.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
we're never gonna make back that 1.7 million, I'm gonna tell you
No.
right now, but the
No.
taxpayers should see some resolution on the way we're gonna handle this. And moving forward, we need to be very careful of when we annex a piece of property, are we doing it for the right reason for the city? And that's the whole, this is the argument I wanna make for you guys. We make arguments based on what's best for Shepherdsville, okay? That whole thing, I'm not sure where that should've gone. Can't make that decision, wasn't mine to make 3 years ago. But as mayor today, I think it should be part of the city, and that's why I'm asking you guys to look at this.
Okay.
Bonnie, click that thing on. I'll get you minutes.
I'm not for the annexation, even though, you know, we agreed to let them get the sewers, but we should be collecting out-of-city rates from them versus if they were part of the city. That would help to recoup some of our money. But if we're gonna give them a break, cause it's a school board, and let them not have to pay as much as others would have to pay, that's not fair. It's not right to the citizens. We can't go into a partnership with them expecting to lose our money. And we really need to think about that. They're not in the city. It's more of that jumping around that happened several years ago, and that's how we ended up being close enough to annex. And I'm not for that type of annexation. It's not right. We're going further and further out into the country. Pretty soon Bullock County will be Louisville if we keep doing this. And I'm just not for that, and I think they should pay full rates. I mean, they got away with only sticking $500,000 into the project for them to help them save money. So why should we be kind and save them money?
Well, but Stephen, you wanna add something? I know that you're a very vocal proponent to a lot of things going
Tell
around.
them, Steve.
Come on up here, come on up here. Love
He
to hear from you.
sharpens knives really well, too.
He does. That's the scary part about it. Stephen, how are you?
And in the past, I've had to state my name and address.
I would like to do that.
Record, and
Absolutely,
I've been
absolutely.
told that I'm not a citizen of Shepherdsville.
Which one? Your name would be sufficient. Yeah.
My name's Stephen Phelps. I live at 295 Lover's Leap Lane in the county. Part of what I have taken on personally is I am chairperson of the Southeast Bullock community. Homeowners primarily in this entire area that we're discussing this evening, who have banded together to look at issues that could affect us for the fact that we have chosen to live in the county versus the city. Before I get into this, as far as the school board, so that you understand, across the street next to the Bullock County Fairgrounds, which this sewer property line runs through, there was initially scheduled a warehouse, and I fought it vehemently, mainly because the traffic that would be going in and out of Audubon Drive with our school children would have created a very nightmarish situation.
We understand all that. Yep, I remember all that.
Having said that, now I realize the property that is being asked to be annexed, that is the school board's property. And if I understand correctly, they're wanting to be annexed because they had an issue with sewers, and the sewer line was built to accommodate them as well as expand, I understand. But that line goes across this property, is that correct? There's no future plans for any development of this property at this point in time?
That's an absolute no. Okay, it's, all we wanna do is annex the property as it is. It doesn't change anything else that's going on in that area. I wanna make sure that you know from me, cause I know my council has certain opinions. You know how I feel about it. You know how I feel about that.
My concern is not today, not within the
Sure.
next 3 years.
I got
not
you.
within the next 5 years, is that
Can I just answer that?
We need to have a statement in the deed
Okay.
that, you know, this is, you know, you're dealing with a county school.
Mhm.
I'm not so sure a city annexing, it doesn't sit right. So it's.
We have already other schools in our city that can.
Yes. But again, we are pushing in the boundaries here, and I'm gonna push back.
Well, no, so the concerns are always valid. We've talked about this. We're on the same agreement. I want you all to know the same thing. We do not want to develop anything over there. We just want it to be a part, because what our problem is with our sewers, and Arthur can attest this, are we going to develop these sewers to the rest of the, around us and just start making all these deals with folks? That's not very frugal for the city and for the taxpayers of Shepherdsville. And I'm not the mayor of Southeast. God love you. But I think it's important that we do. I think there's some commitments that you'd like to have. We can look into that, Stephen, because I can tell you I am with you for that. We do not want to develop anything more than just make it part of the city. And that is it, because of the sewer line and the acceptance of that. That's all, from my standpoint, council's got their, Bonnie's already made hers, and for the rest of you all, please express your opinion. But the whole idea behind.
We have compromises, assurances.
Absolutely. I mean, if that's what we need to do, we'll do what we need to do. I can tell you that from my standpoint. I'll find out through Catherine what it is we can and cannot do as far as that commitment to you. But I can tell you from my standpoint, this is only just merely to fulfill the agreement was made and to make sure that it's part of the city because of the sewer. And that's the key to this. Now, moving the sewer any further is gonna take somebody's, the commitment is, what are we putting there on any other property? That property's not gonna change. But for everybody else up here, I can tell you, this council's not gonna go for anything that shouldn't be developed there. If you haven't seen that in the first 6 months, you haven't been coming to the meetings. Because we're not gonna do that. We've got specific areas for the warehouses. We need to make sure we stay within that quadrant and the one we have down 61. The rest of it is residential and commercial, period. Absolutely. And I appreciate it. I know you're a fighter, and you did a great job the last time, and I know that if we ever put you in that situation again, you come fighting again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. With sharpened
I
knives.
appreciate your time.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Do you guys have anything else on that? I just want to make sure. Yeah, all right, click that button again.
She's ready to put that button.
Okay, I'm in agreement with him.
Huh?
Here's the problem. Even if we can sign an agreement, says that we're not gonna do any of that stuff. So when you're dead and gone, I'm dead and gone, and everybody else is, and the people who own that land die, and their family sells it off for that profit number, it's gonna happen. You know.
There's no zero-sum
There-
game, though.
Right,
I
so,
mean, it could be
so we
99.9.
can't guarantee that piece of paper is about as useful as toilet paper.
Well, no.
That's all it's gonna be worth. I do wanna say, though, I had to go from 240, I took 65 to 245 to get to South Preston to go to the RV place, to look for a part. And I got a picture, of course, you all can't see it out here. This is where I turned coming back. The traffic was back all the way up to 65. Nobody could hardly get out. Nobody was letting them out. And this is at 10 o'clock in the morning. This is how bad. The businesses down there aren't open. This is just people that live there and they can't get through. So what are we doing to all the people who live out there? We're making them like how bad our traffic is here. And I don't want to spread that out any further. That area is unsafe. You got people coming out of the warehouses, they don't have the red lights working. You know, it was bad. I sat 15 minutes in traffic to turn on 61 to go a half a mile. That's all I needed. People were turning around the middle of the street, running down through the oncoming lane to get to a turning lane, or to get down to the 245 marketplace, whatever that's called. It's not safe. And this is what we have created. I didn't create it, and some of you didn't create it. But from 2011 to 2006, there were council members that started that corridor annexation that we should never do, and hooked all that land in any way they could do it for the buck. And we all know how corrupt government is. It's here too. It's not us. I hope not, but it has been and it will always be. And I think that we have done our citizens and the county. We're still responsible for you. You all shop in the city and you spend your dollars here. So you have just as much right. It doesn't matter that you don't live in the city. You have just as much right. Because what you do, what we do affects you. And that's important to me.
Yeah, so just to add to what you're saying, though, but the problem is, I'll give you examples. A 4-lane road over 61 instead of 2 lanes over the Salt River. How about it, we're talking now about another bridge. Okay, we are actually having at least a conversation about another bridge from Cedar Grove Road to 44. These are conversations we've got to have. Exit 119. I mean,
It took me 35 minutes to get from exit 112.
yeah, I mean, we have horrendous traffic, it's along with the water. These things aren't gonna be fixed tomorrow, okay, but we are in conversations, okay? These things, Bonnie's right, we didn't create these problems. Okay? We didn't create, these have been created over the years, and so those developments are important for people to understand that we have conversations now that are problem solving. Some will take a little longer, some of them, Bonnie, may not be done until we're gone. But at least a conversation about another bridge is at least a conversation right now about that bridge over Cedar Grove Road. You need another way to take that traffic off of 44 and 65. If you don't, it'll always be like this. 119 is on the conversation, Arthur can tell you, with our relationship with KIPTA. We're looking at that. That's now back on the radar, the real radar, that could happen in less than 5 years.
That should have happened when they went
Well, absolutely. You see what's happening is that we want you guys to understand that we know these things and we're gonna work on them. But for them to happen tomorrow, that's not gonna happen. But the key is, if we're at least working on them now, and with the concerns that Bonnie and anybody else has up here, we'll get there. It'll take a little bit, but we're gonna get there. As we develop the city and all the money we're infusing in here, okay, some of these roads are not our control. That's the other problem you're running, county, state, and federal, okay? We do not control those roads. So again, keeping all of that in mind with everything we talk about is we can't stop growing. So we gotta figure out creative ways to help us deal with some of the issues. So I know this council is gonna work on that. And I've got some things, and me and Mike had an extensive conversation about planning and zoning. About some things that we needed, between code enforcement, planning and zoning, there's been a whole lot of, zoning and no planning, right, as they keep saying. So please keep it in mind. I mean, these are good conversations to have about these annexations, or even when we talked about rezoning them, okay? All right.
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if we annex this school, what kind of money are we bringing in from this? Like, for the sewer?
Rough.
I mean, is it worth it? Like, I mean, because if we annex it,
Right.
don't we have to take care of the property
Right.
and all that?
So right now, we get just the sewer rate. If they're annexed in, occupational and
I
property
mean,
tax.
do we know what that amount is?
It's about 50,000. It's pennies on the dollars what we spent, but at least is money that generates back to the taxpayers of Shepherdsville.
But,
Right
I
now,
mean,
it's zero.
I guess what I'm saying is, I mean, if we're only getting 50,000, what's our cost going in?
No,
Like,
no, no,
for the
okay,
year,
no, all that, right now, the only thing out there is sewer.
Besides the
They pay for the sewer, and that's it. If we bring them into the city, then it's a property tax, and it's also involved with the occupational tax. That's the incentive for doing this, and it doesn't change any dynamics out there, Steve. As long as nothing ever happens different than that, it doesn't change his world at all. And that traffic over there's always that traffic. Yeah, Brad?
So them being educational, they don't pay property taxes, right? Real or property
No,
taxes?
no, but I mean, there's a property tax within that land. I don't know if that's it or not, but I know that the occupational tax, I know there's, Arthur, can you correct me on this? I thought there was for the property, I know we're gonna pick up occupational tax on it.
Correct. Preliminary estimates are $32,000 a year on occupational taxes based on salaries of a year and a half ago. Today, I don't know staffing levels out there, so I wouldn't be able to tell you intelligently what exactly that is now.
Okay.
And that's
If
on
it's
top
the
of.
same, it's about
Right.
32 grand.
Right. So I guess my concern would be, once we annex it, we have to assume public safety responsibilities, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying, like, what's
No,
our
but
cost?
but we already, I mean, if you guys don't know, I mean, if you're interchangeable parts on police and fire, you know how many places we go? I can tell you can talk to the fire department back
Oh,
there.
yeah, I know.
Right.
And
But
police.
there's a point where you start to get.
Yeah, we're not
stretched.
taking over a huge area.
Right.
If you look at the area that we're talking about, it's just part of the fact that the sewer went there. That's the.
Response time to that school.
Right.
And I don't wanna get
Well,
stretched
Okay,
so
so
thin
just-
that it compromises our ISO ratings and things like that either.
I think we're actually okay on that one. I've talked to Lane, but I can go back and revisit that. I mean, anything like that you see, I'd be more than glad to look at it, Brad. No worries.
I'm like Bonnie, I feel like that, you know, we're not gonna make that much money off of this, really. I mean, we're getting $50,000 in sewer rates right now, correct?
No.
Nothing? We get zero?
Okay, no. Okay,
Well, what do
sewer-
we get?
Sewer is by
About.
itself. So they pay sewer and that's it. If we annex them in, it actually includes the occupational tax because we have an occupational
Yeah,
tax
that's
in the city.
$32,000, you know, I don't know if it's worth it.
Well, 50,000 is more than, I don't know what you guys think, but 50,000 versus the fact that we paid 1.7.
I agree, but, you know, we didn't do that, you know.
Well, that's unfortunate, that's
I know.
exactly what you just said, is we
Right.
didn't do this. But it's important for you all to know that we're trying to take care of actually recouping what we can for the taxpayers. We owe that to them. So, again, I think we got 2 weeks in this case. Well, actually, in this case, we have 4 weeks. So, please look at it again, and I'll get any other information you want. I mean, I do appreciate the comments. This is what we gotta do. It's a little lengthy today, but I think it's important you guys know that we are taking this stuff seriously. All right. Yeah, it's not my fault today. It's all
Catherine's.
It's Catherine's today. All right, no, it's all good. All right. So with that said, I appreciate the feedback. All right, the next one is 02338.
Okay, so this is an ordinance annexing in about 33 acres, kind of at the northeast corner of 61 and Chapiz Lane. And it's 5 different properties that's wanting to be annexed. Do I have anyone that's going to sponsor this? Okay, Brad, thank you. Brad's going to sponsor ordinance 023038. An ordinance pursuant to KRS 81A.412, annexing into the city of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, by consent of all property owners, 33.220 acres, more or less, of property located at the northeast intersection of Preston Highway and Chapiz Lane. All is more particularly described and illustrated in and on exhibits to this ordinance. Summary, number 1, annexes and makes part of the city 5 tracts totaling approximately 33.220 acres that are contiguous or adjacent to the city's boundaries by request and written consent of all property owners of record of all properties. 2, the properties which are the subject of this ordinance are located at and known as A, 3606 South Preston Highway, Shepherdsville, Kentucky 40165, identified by the Bullock County Property Valuation Administrator as parcel ID 04700000015. B, 3614 South Preston Highway, Shepherdsville, Kentucky 40165, identified by the Bullock County Property Valuation Administrator as parcel ID 04700000016. C, Chapiz Lane, Shepherdsville, Kentucky 40165, identified by the Bullock County Property Valuation Administrator as parcel ID 04700000016C. D, Chapiz Lane, Shepherdsville, Kentucky 40165, identified by the Bullock County Property Valuation Administrator as parcel ID 04700000016A, and E, 150 Chapiz Lane, Shepherdsville, Kentucky 40165, identified by the Bullock County Property Valuation Administrator as parcel ID 04700000016B. 3, incorporates by reference as if fully set forth in the ordinance the exhibits that describe and illustrate the properties which are the subject of this ordinance. 4, provides that after annexation, the properties will remain subject to the same land use restrictions as applied prior to annexation. 5, provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
All right, before we start the conversation, would you guys come on up? I know you've been waiting a little while. Thank you all for coming up here. Oh, sorry, it's a little late. We're waiting on our city attorney.
I was reading pretty fast.
And we'll get beat up in front of you. I know. All right, thank you. So before any questions, I'd like them to introduce themselves and talk a little about this whole formation here on this property. So if you don't mind, whatever you'd like to be able to talk about.
Absolutely. First, thank you, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council of Shepherdsville, attendees tonight. My name is John Baker. I'm an attorney here in Kentucky with the firm Wyatt Terry Combs. I'm here with Doug Lance. Doug is with Brennan Investment. And we are looking at this property here with the Mittens that are here with us, property owners. And we're asking the City Council to annex these 33 acres into the City of Shepherdsville. We believe under KRS 81A.210, which really sets the standard for what's an appropriate property to annex Road to the south of the subject property on Claremont, there's also property that's being annexed into the city of Shepherdville. Doug and his team at Brennan have a very specific market for this property they're looking for. It'd be logistical, but at a much smaller scale than what has recently been approved and the properties that have been developed that I just referred to that's been annexed into the city. Combined, you're looking at footprints together that's going to be smaller than the bigger buildings that are existing today. There's a real need for smaller warehouses, especially 100,000 to 200,000 square feet. We have some of these bigger boxes that the owners and landlords are reluctant to split space. They want one tenant, and we need space for smaller operations. And we also know that there's a groundswell coming too, not just in Bullock County, but south of Bullock County. There's going to be some trickle effect from Glendale for parts and fabrication or staging. And
He's got it.
it's another
He's got it.
reason we're asking the city to bring this in, or
Thank you,
bring this
Arthur.
into the city boundary. And Doug's here with Brennan, say a couple of words about what they're looking to do. And we believe it's pursuant to the statute, and we also believe it's an appropriate reason to bring it into the city of Shepherdsville. And we respectfully ask for a favorable consideration, and thank you for your time this evening. Mr. Minton just reminded me too that it's got city sewer through the middle of the property as well.
City sewer.
Okay. Doug, would you like to share a few thoughts with us? Would you guys?
Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Doug Lance from Brennan Investment Group. As John had mentioned, I cover the states of Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana. And Brennan Investment Group is based in Chicago. And we have property all over the country. We specialize in owning, developing, managing commercial and industrial real estate. Our portfolio right now is a little over $50 million across 39 states. We do have a handful of assets here in Louisville. And we just finished the project down in the Riverport area with Jefferson County.
No.
And we'd love to partner with you guys on this project as well, and expand our portfolio here in the city. As John mentioned, I think there's a real need for the smaller bay industrial product here. Most of the other projects that are in and around the area are much larger. We've designed two rear-loaded buildings of 100,000 feet and 221,000 feet, which we can cater to 50,000 to 100,000. We feel there's a real need for those smaller spaces. So very small, much smaller scale than what's to the north and to the south of us, and even across 480 on the other side of the freeway.
One of the things for the council is that what they mentioned earlier, what John mentioned, was what you're going to see is you're going to see a ripple from this thing from Hardin County. From all that's going on in Glendale down there, you're going to see more of these sub-services that they're going to be needing, whether it's inventory or service or whatever they're going to be looking for. They're going to be looking at some of the areas that we already have our industrial park and where it's growing. And one of my concerns is anytime anybody wants to come talk to us about building these type of things, does it fit where we're at? If you look at 61 in that area, and then again we have that area, and we have the industrial park as we know it, the southeast corridor of Cedar Grove Road and 65. So we want to stay in those areas, and we looked at this as an opportunity. When they first came to us, they met with us, and we were interested in just hearing what they had to say, and that's why they're making their presentation to you guys tonight. Because I said that I think you need to talk to our council. I think this is something they'll look at, they'll review, and I think there's at least, if you look at where it's at, what part is it is, again, the corridor, kind of goes, there's Bonnie, always talking about what we're touching, but this is the piece that fits right into our.
It does touch. I think one of the biggest concerns I have is the narrowness right through there driving through. I used to drive a school bus and wreckers and everything on that. It's a little narrow through there, a little dangerous.
You mean the road off of there?
Preston.
Preston
Where
itself,
Tippees comes out on Preston, down that short stretch through there is very dangerous. So I'm concerned about if we've got trucks come, or you're expecting tractor trailers to come in there on your.
I mean, they've surrounded our property with warehouses already to the north and south. As far as the exit is north of there, and they have widened part of Preston already above us, where Exeter comes in and out. And they have two entrances there where they wanted to having a turn lane in the middle.
Okay, so are you gonna have an exit on 61, or are you gonna be coming in and out on Chappies?
Our design just comes out on the Preston Highway
Well, he's gonna move it down further, but you're right. So if you move it down further to help this out, there'd be a possibility of putting a turn lane in there to not cause the traffic issues.
Where they have the exit up here, is right where it's already 3 lane, where there's a 3rd lane.
Okay,
Yeah, we've, most of our traffic, we think, all the truck traffic is obviously going north up to the new intersection off of 65.
okay.
We have talked to KYTC already, with our civil engineer at Pine Street.
And we want everything going that way to go to
And you-
65. That was
and
the
you-
design of
you-
that road.
You probably all well know I'm not for warehouses. I hate them because of what it's done to this city. You're saying these are smaller, but are they gonna be just as tall as the other ones? Are they gonna be more pleasant for people to look at?
They won't be as tall as the other ones, next door. We will be between 28 and 32 foot high. The other ones next door, to my knowledge, are probably 40 foot high. We'll probably be 28 foot high, somewhere in that vicinity. And our buildings, we build state-of-the-art buildings with nice features. We're talking about, green space, green area, where we would not protect the Chickpeas Lane.
And you see he's got 2 water basins, 2 basins.
Yeah, that's
That's really,
good.
when I saw that, I thought that was really good because
It'd take
again,
me some hard thinking about it, but I do appreciate some of the things that you're incorporating into it. I can say that.
We have talked to KYTC, and they've talked to us about some of the berms and some of the road improvements that we would have to do, similar to what Exeter did, that you mentioned to the north. We understand that we have to do some of those road improvements to make the road safe.
Right. I appreciate that.
any questions over here?
That's all I got.
Thank you, Ms. Bonnie. You guys good on this side here for right now? I mean, we can always get you more information, any questions. I mean, this is one that will be a second reading in 2 weeks. So obviously, I want to make sure that I've got information, like, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Mike, I'd be glad to do anything to get you guys whatever
How many
answers.
trucks are we looking at, and what are the what kind of hours are they looking at? Like, do you know?
Well, we're building.
Or are you just building it and you don't have a,
Well, right now, we are building speculatively, but as we started to build a handful of projects, we start to build them, where they end up turning into build-to-suits, or you have somebody that comes in.
Yeah.
while you're constructing. Right now, we're just building speculatively, trying to build speculatively. But with the smaller users, those are typically 8 to 5 type users, or not 24-hour big distribution centers like an Amazon or something like that runs all the time. Smaller users aren't as, quote, impactful by the number of trucks and/or hours and/or employees, but that's what we found.
Steven, you wanted to, I don't mind if you want to just,
Can you get us some, can send us some of these diagrams?
Sure, let me interrupt, but I do have some comments I would like to make.
kind of just, I mean, if you just stand up and just, if you want to speak right there, that's fine. Either way, if you can.
First of all, glad to see the Mittens out. So, one of the things the community has always maintained is people have a right to make a profit on their property if they're selling their property. We don't want to interfere with that. We want them to make a profit. And the concerns that we have as a group, warehouses have a large footprint for rainwater runoff, hence the basins.
Stormwater runoff.
But even with the basins, the amount of water coming into the area backs up the ditches, the creek beds, very quickly. And what has happened over the last couple of years, as more and more warehouses are being built, is Chickpeas Lane is actually getting shut down in at least 3 areas of flooding. This keeps first responders out. It keeps people from getting out of their homes, out of their subdivisions.
Is this on, again, I'm asking, a heavy rainfall, or, I mean, is this happening a lot more? I mean, I just asking to be asking, because there's certain rainfall that you just, we can't control it. What's that?
Let me kind of give you an idea, and I have to check my figures.
Okay.
1 inch of rainfall over an acre of ground will produce 17,000 plus
No,
gallons
I think,
of water.
yeah, I've seen it before.
Yes. When you look at let's say McKesson's or an Amazon, that is 1 million square feet, that along with the parking lot, you're looking at 25 acres. Multiply those numbers. That's 1 inch of rain. We get 1 inch of rain all the time. Now you do that by 3 inches of rain, and you've got problems, and we've got problems. 61 floods, the corner of Preston Highway and Chappies floods, a drainage ditch around the corner just across 65 floods, and then it's always flooded at the other end of Chappies by the Jim Beam, your older Jim Beam warehouses, which is the creek bed. But it creates a huge concern as far as first responders being able to get to those homes. You're looking at 400 homes. That's a concern. So just so that you're aware, that's what. Now, the other question I have, and please, if I read the map correctly, the upper corner of that triangle, that's where the graveyard is, isn't it?
No, so the 5 parcels of property are owned by myself and Mike, and then his sister owns 2 parcels.
The 3 homes there?
No, she owns the house, and then where Mike's dad live, where there's a garage. The parcel with the graveyard is on up.
Okay. So
Exeter surrounds that.
this does not incorporate the graveyard?
No, the graveyard is its own deed, it's separate.
Yes. Well, I had heard, and I can't verify it, that there's a Medal of Honor soldier buried at that graveyard.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's actually doing the
Again, I don't,
maintenance.
that's what I've heard, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but if it is, yeah, that's a,
We're not on the graveyard.
yes, so if
He
if that's the
doesn't-
case, that's
We
fine.
don't conjoin with the graveyard.
My concern is always that
Yeah, we would,
our veterans.
we would want to.
Okay, well, that.
I would really want to disturb the graveyard.
Yes.
I was told here 2 or 3 weeks ago that the guy that owns Tom's Drexler Plumbing has actually contacted the county and whoever about the graveyard because he has family buried in there, about starting a fund to keep the graveyard up.
And I would be all in favor of that.
But the graveyard and the house next to it doesn't have nothing to do with this.
All right, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Paul, thank you, Stephen. Paul, did you have it? Did you click that on? Did you have something?
So there's 2 buildings, correct?
Yeah, and two
That they're gonna,
basins.
okay.
And
And
I think-
I'm just not I don't like warehouses either. I think Shepherdsville, we have a lot of warehouses everywhere you go, but thank you.
One of the things for the council, and I want to make sure that you all know that, I get it with the, okay, but we've not managed the situation. That's gotten out of hand. We look across the street from here, we have 2 sitting across from us. So we didn't create that problem, but we look at geographically where we're at. And I think the conversation that I heard during last year, and I think it's be very careful for this council, is to make sure that when we look at what we're gonna do here, that we put thought process in where we're putting them, okay? I would never want us to put anything in our commercial area or our residential area, but we have an area that's already that. That's the 61 and the other area, the corridor there. It has to stay in those areas. So we gotta be careful. I always remind people, yes, we need to be cognizant of what water runoff, Stephen. I agree with you there. But I think if we look at our development and how our future is gonna be, there is a lot of this that's still out there for us. And again, we look at the income that we bring in. Let's be smart about our development when it comes to these industrial parks, okay? But we have to make sure if we say no, then where's the income? And again, I always try to remind us of what the kind of things we're trying to do. We are now managing the money that we've got in from those warehouses that actually are getting ready to do the kind of things we want to do in this city. So I just want to be careful, council. I think you guys are asking some good questions. But be careful when you're talking about this, because again, it's how we manage it moving forward, the next 10 to 20 years, and what our footprint is of how we manage it. Water runoff is a critical thing. We're in a bowl. If you haven't forgot about it, we're in a bowl right here on the river. That's not going to change, just like some of our traffic is not going to change. But we need to think of creative ways to continue our growth in the city and also manage these areas. Because again, we're going to be in this situation. So these are going to be tough questions for everybody. You've got to make sure you look at our development moving forward, because the development is actually helping what we're getting ready to do.
But
So,
I mean, really and truly, we've encroached on that area. We did that. We did what's going on out there.
On
And I know
that?
you're saying we should manage it, but really adding more, I just don't see that as managing it.
you are, again, if you want to look at the geographical side of it. Yes, sir. Would you like to add something?
Sure. My name's Randall Scott.
Hi.
I'm off Chippewa Lane.
Uh-huh.
And my concern is, we keep building warehouses, and on 245, there's warehouses sitting there empty. You know, when they kept the COVID vaccine and stuff, that was booming here 8 months ago. Now you don't see a car in the parking lot. And there's a building next door, been up for months now. There's no one in it. So if we're gonna build 2 or 3, 4 more warehouses, are they gonna sit empty? You won't be collecting any kind of
No, again, but then obviously there's information that's out there that can't be disclosed to the public yet about some of those places that you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, I cannot disclose that today in public, but there are more things that are happening, and you can see when you look at the investment and you look where Shepherdsville is on the eastern half of the country, that's why you're seeing this attention. I think we just need, I'm just asking caution for all these folks up here to make sure, make good decisions, stay with your principle, that's fine. But remember, when we look at our development, this is going to be critical over the next 10, 20 years because of what we're doing within the city. And we have parts that we can develop that are part of this community. We can do that. Some of it we can't control. Some of it's already been out there. Jennifer, we didn't create that. That whole
Right,
area.
that's what I'm saying. We
but,
didn't
but,
create
but it goes with what's
But
there.
our city has encroached on that area.
And that's true.
Yeah.
I just want to say this, Mike, my husband, has lived on this farm for 43 years.
Right, and right next to you are.
Every morning for
Yes.
the last 2.5 years, we would wake up at 5:30 in the morning and hear beep, 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 beep. That's
Yes.
when they were building the warehouses, and we didn't have any other repercussion other than we wanted to leave, so we moved.
Right.
So we don't live at the corner of Chappies and 61. It's the
Yeah.
first time in almost 50 years that there's not been a Minton on the corner of Chappies and 61.
Yeah.
And I think it would
And
be
it's
fair
heartbreaking.
if you
It is
did
heartbreaking
annex
for that
it,
area.
Because you already annexed everything, you've annexed the road.
Yeah.
You annexed everything around us.
You've
We
got a
allowed
city
you to
sewer
put
line that
sewers
runs
through
the
it.
middle of the property.
That's what I'm saying, you know, that the
We stop
city
them all.
came out there.
They did,
Yes.
and you know, and it's not fair to make someone have to live in a spot that they don't enjoy anymore,
Yeah.
so that's why we moved.
And that's what I'm saying, like, then now it moves next door to that. That's what I'm
Well,
saying,
the-
it's just
the
gonna
thing-
keep
the
going
thing
up and
about
up and
next door
up.
to that, that there's not anything next door
Yeah.
to us there. There's not.
Well,
There's
the
road.
house next door to you has to,
No,
now,
there's not a house next door to us.
yeah, the Moores,
No,
yeah.
no.
I mean, there's a lake there.
The
But,
lake is there,
yeah.
and then the houses are on down. You can't
Yeah.
see any of that from Chappies. You can't
Big
see
dock
that at all.
arms all the way down through there.
If you drive down Chappies and you look off to the left where our property is, and there's the lake there, the rock quarry,
Yeah.
you cannot see across the rock quarry any of this at all.
But that's what I'm
From that.
saying, you can't now, but you
Even-
may
even-
later. That's
even
what I'm saying,
after-
I mean, you wouldn't have seen all that other stuff, but it came to you, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Right,
I
but what
understand
I'm
what you're
saying is-
going through,
what
cause
I'm
I've
saying
watched
is
it
that-
build up.
Yeah, what I'm saying
Yeah.
though is that there is not a house
Yeah.
next door to us that would be impacted
Yeah.
by this. And across the road from us, the county just purchased that property across the road from us, Patty Corner, from Chappies and 61, and that's where they're putting the animal shelter.
Yeah.
And then south of that is industrial also, on the other side.
Do any of you all know for the county, because right now you're in the county, how this is planned for future use? Do any of you all know that right now?
I know the property itself is slated still as agricultural.
Okay.
Everything south of Chappies is slated for industrial,
Okay,
so it's kind of a missing tooth right there.
okay.
North of us, above Exeter, there's another 15-acre parcel there that the Flynn Corporation owns, that they have already
when I looked at this and when they brought it to my attention, I kept all that in mind. It's already, unfortunately, Jennifer, we didn't, but it does fit what's already going there. And I think if we're gonna do things like that, I'd rather do them in areas that are like that instead of creating some of the problems that we've seen in our city. And this is why they're sensitive to that, because again, walk out this building and you'll see 2 across the store, and then you got 2 more up there. We have 4 warehouses in the area that's supposed to be considered commercial. So that's the concern. But that area fits already what's around it. So that's why I supported you guys hearing all this. And I think it's important when you look at where we're gonna be, let's make sensible decisions about where we're at in these areas. And again, I appreciate your feedback. Anything else from the council? Yes, absolutely, Doug, absolutely.
We're sensitive to that, and I understand everybody that lives around here, very sensitive to the traffic. And
I live all right by it.
a couple of gentlemen referenced the Amazon building in McKesson and some of the other buildings that are empty. The Amazon building and McKesson building are 10 times the size of this building. This building's 100,000 square feet, that's a million. So the impact, I know people think of the big buildings, that's why we think the smaller buildings aren't gonna be as impactful, they're gonna have smaller users. I think they're gonna fill up. I think we're gonna see people come to this because there's a need for the smaller bay industrial product.
I think we're gonna have to challenge the state too on the 61, okay? We just mentioned it's only a 2-lane across the river. That's ridiculous, okay? So from there on, south, should be all 4 lanes structured for that kind of vehicle. That's what the problem is. A lot of these developments, and what they get upset about it is the fact that the roads aren't designed to take that traffic. Well, you know, the state makes their money out of all this. Where's that money being back in the 61? A road we can't touch. Okay, that's the problem. So we all have our concerns, but the realization for us is that we've got to keep moving forward, but be real sensible and more meticulous about building this. I understand Stephen's concerned. I mean, we'll look at that. 2 basins are a great way to cover a lot of that water runoff. We don't see 2 basins anywhere. I mean, in some of these bigger buildings. So we already see part of your solution is to address some of that. Again, the scale of what you're doing versus some of the others are doing. But again, this is for them to make sure.
We've had plungers study this site, they're a civil engineering group, it's in his office here, they actually did work to the north.
Yeah.
So they're very familiar with this site, the terrain.
Absolutely.
We're working on the site to the north, so they have studied quite a bit of this recently.
Yeah, I appreciate it, like I said, and I appreciate the questions from the council.
Thanks.
Yeah. And we'll reach out to you to make sure if there's any other questions. I mean, if they have anything, I'll make sure we get it to you as quickly as possible. Okay? Thank you all for being here today. No, you're very welcome. Thanks. Yeah, Doug, I got you too. I've got you, Doug. All right. Look at you back here working. Look at you. Doug, thank you very much. I'll be hollering at you soon. All right, we'll get with you guys. All right. I know it's been a lengthy day. I know everybody's ready to go. So we got to go through quickly the last little bit here. Thank you all for, get back to my, all right. Let's wrap this up if we could. I know you guys are ready to go. All right, planning and zoning, I don't have anything. I talked to Dwayne, I didn't have anything there. Department heads, I know, Steve, do you have anything quick you want to give to us? Anything you want? Thank you. Hey, and we vote you for best dressed day at the department heads.
Yes.
Sir? Coulter, come on up here.
Mike said sorry he couldn't be here tonight. He said that he will catch you all at the next meeting, and he didn't have anything to report that he would see you all at the board.
All right, hey, appreciate it, thank you. Arthur, I don't really want to hear from you anymore, but if you're good, thumbs up. No, it's all good. Brenda? I know. All right, Brenda, you have anything? All right, Ms. Bonnie? We're gonna let you start first. I think we started.
Well, we're not getting off so easy.
No worries.
Under KRS 61.810
Mike.
subsection B.
Mike, hit your mic.
Let's start again.
All right.
Under KRS 61.810 subsection B and subsection E, first B is future acquisition of sale of real property, and subsection C is collective bargaining, and go to executive session under those.
Say that again. That was a joke. All right.
I need that note.
Yeah, she needs all the information. You want to go ahead and turn.
You gotta do a motion. And
So, I need a motion to go into executive session.
Can I add something to that?
Absolutely.
While she's got her list going.
Yeah.
Whatever covers, possible legal action.
Okay.
Litigation.
Litigation?
Litigation.
Okay.
I think Bonnie was making the motion.
Yeah,
You
she
just
was.
need a second.
Yeah, need a second.
Oh, okay.
Got a second?
Second.
Second from Mike? All right. Roll call.
This wasn't on my paper.
No, it's okay. That's all right.
Executive session,
That's
we-
right, executive
Okay.
session. We'll get all that in a minute.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Yes. Brad?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Faith?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Mike sounds so enthusiastic.
Let me, I'm gonna run.
All right, pursuant to the motion to go into executive session by Bonnie, we are now going into executive session.
All right, come on in, Jenna.
If you leave before we get back, thank you, everyone.
I almost wiped you out, I didn't mean to. Okay. So, KRS.
No, I've got emails from him. It's never dawned on me until. I deal with Jeff Clark. Collection. Well, the reports I do for the GOP, I have to deal with, not as, he was involved a lot in getting the electronic stuff.
Yeah, that's my son. Okay, so I'll talk to you.
My fence is going across here. I don't know what's gonna happen back here or not. You know, I had to put this, it's kind of draining right there too. I don't know what's gonna happen.
What he didn't tell you,
Gravel and blacktop.
we'll have to do it, oh.
I'm sorry.
What he didn't tell you is we'll have to have you do an
Okay.
before,
See
so.
it.
Oh, no, the Grand Resort there. Well, it's on the other side.
So, anytime next week.
Okay. Well, that's it. Also anticipation.
The date, it's July fourth, actually, but.
Mike, it would Friday be a good day?
Yeah, well,
It may not be done.
well, work not going last, but I'm in the office until noon.
Okay. So I work, staff hours.
Oh, okay.
So, but on Friday, I typically
So 15,000 cars a day.
work usually on Monday, or 2 days a week, so, yeah, that's, that old post, and then it'll shift back to the office.
I know, I'd still like to be able to do that,
Yeah, especially, well, I've got a pretty good week, so it's, on the 2 days a week.
It sure sounds good. To me,
Oh, when the Sherman Minton guy. Oh, okay.
yeah, I thought.
What's going on, man? You doing all right? What's that? Well, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, right. Like, so, I
That's a sign for me that it's time to go home. Here you go.
No. No, take it away. Take it away. Thanks, RC. Absolutely. And, I can share this with you guys digitally, because my copy, I sent it out to the council earlier today. You didn't know. They had no idea. They were also sent it 2 weeks ago. What was it here?
I do my garden and all, you know, everything, you know, I don't have to worry about,
Sheila wasn't here, Blake wasn't here.
I don't know, somebody tells me my mailbox.
Right, oh my God, yeah, or the flag isn't hanging right. Yeah, we have.
It's just, it was a gap of about 20 years. Some of them.
And I used to love it.
Two of them passed.
But the last few years, I guess since the pandemic, it's, you see people doing some really crazy things on the interstate.
Wasn't that? Wasn't our deal.
Wow.
It was the me 3 years ago.
If we get in
Not
the
me.
fast lane, I can run.
That's regulation.
And I'm just getting like the worst part.
It's, and that's, I always like the danger of things, the differentials, if you contain already on our property, and heating space,
Cumulative problems
when somebody else, either somebody is really slow, or just
Howard Lake and
kind of
the
a
point
rock in a stream,
all
or you've
contribute
got
to
somebody
water.
going from the airplane all the way to the back, zigzagging through.
Well, my husband gets on
Mountain
the
Lake, absolutely.
Sandy Little Lane. I said, no,
So part of that.
come at me from 2 directions. I said, I stand on one lane, and you don't see the fish on one side.
Proper bottom. And that,
I said, I
you know,
can't.
rip
I
around
fear
the
speed.
just a concrete bottom so that elevation can stay consistent.
Up my rear.
speaker, they're gonna have to fix it. But I can't put in the meeting minutes what I can't hear. So I thought, if you wanna be in the minutes, get up here and speak. But my husband, he texted me going, you can't hear, you can't hear. What do you want me to do? Then it doesn't go in the minutes. When I have the executive session on the minutes, or on the agenda, they'll go, why is this on here? Just in case you all do this, because I don't have a vote. Then they call it when I don't have it on there. No.
Is it all in that one ad?
Another one after I sent it to you, that's. Cheaper, I'm all thinking on that. Yeah, I was like, I think the folks gonna go insane. Of course, they have a hard one.
Man, I'll have to talk to him about it, cause I thought you had to outline the roads and all that other good stuff.
It's gonna have to happen. Show the roads that have already been done with that first.
Well, in the beginning, and what I found is that every attorney has a different interpretation. Edison said that you had to have an engineer, anybody project had to have an engineer. Well, it doesn't care, it's federal money.
Yeah, but that's still going out of our pockets.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You know, what was it today? We got $1 billion for internet expansion. That's in Kentucky, $1 billion. You know, if Windstream was to get new customers, I mean, they got $1 million or something from the county. I'm thinking, so you're gonna pay for me to expand my service, and then I'm gonna get to charge customers more money, and I'm gonna keep that money. What other business do you go in? You do their work, and they recoup all the money. So it's kind of a, that's this noise. What they're gonna do is they're gonna have memberships. And they may have a discount for city residents. And then that $1 million a year is gonna cost you to maintain that building.
It's just, well, who's gonna stop that? You don't need to have a buzzer shot collar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Usually sits there with her tongue with the mayor, but she's talking.
Well, what we need to do is have two, possibly three individuals out in there, and they all have to have a buzzer. They all have to hit it at the same time for it to work. So if you got three different people, agree, and they all hit it.
Fiscal court, they've got a 3-minute time limit on speakers, not necessarily fiscal court, but they'll put it on the screen. And there's like 4 screens in the fiscal courtroom. Now, they rarely do they stop anybody, but, we, back, I guess when Soam was mayor, and Joe Wallen was city attorney. And Wallen, I don't know if you were here, Joe. Joe was the mayor. When I started in '84 down Mount Washington, Joe was the city attorney, and I swear for 6 months I thought he was the mayor, because he was the only one at the council meeting that spoke.
Yes.
But then here, I swear that Soam would kick Joe at times to shut him up.
I think so too.
And I also know Soam likes to talk. Him and Jose is a
Put them
wild
all around
ring.
and watch the oxygen get sucked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. He talks so fast. He just says a lot.
He says a lot more at the same time.
Yeah, right, yeah. Joe had been in government, he'd been on council. Pretty similar. But yeah, Joe was a little more mild-mannered. He's just hyper,
I never thought anybody would be as busy.
But Curtis too. Oh, well, that's the
Oh my God,
boxing.
he could get from his house to his car halfway out. We couldn't catch him.
That's those boxing days. I mean, he was a
Oh, yeah.
professional boxer.
Yeah.
He took a lot of shots to the head. That's,
He said that
that's
too.
what he
Didn't they
said.
teach you to do it?
Well, and he said because he was so young and he had not read
And he got some decent fights. I mean, when the good guys say, hey, jabroni, here's $300 in cash, I'm gonna knock you out. You last a round or so, and then you go down, and I go get the women and the booze, and you see the doctor. Yeah. But
It was also, which,
it's harder to hit a moving target.
well, I didn't think anybody was as busy as Curtis, but I would say Jose Pizza.
And it gets things done. I mean, get
Oh,
things
yeah.
done, and that's the
No, I meant physically.
physical.
You can't catch him.
Can I do this one time?
Sure, go for it.
I can blame it on Tom.
There you go.
He's walking away real quick. Tom did it.
Can you do a, meetings adjourned?
Yeah.
You don't need to give him a little hat like Jim Eaton's had on the mechanical bull.
There you go.
It would have looked a lot better in the paper if Jose had a little.
Oh, that's
head on it.
funny.
Well, the funny thing was, he didn't think it was, I don't think he thought it was funny. He had trouble milking the cow. His wife was there, and Tanya, and the kids. So he's looking around and said, "Oh, I got my headline. The mayor's milking the city dry." And he kind of looked at me.
Was it a real cow? I saw the pictures. Okay, thank God.
Was that the kids' fest?
Yeah. I said, if I can't have a little fun, I've been at this.
You gotta be able to have a little bit.
And it was great. I mean, it was a great line.
That's funny.
I said, "No, I can't use it in the paper." I said, "That'd be too funny."
Should have made him a special paper up just for him.
Right, yeah.
You know, we haven't done that. Now, when I was in college, I've got one in my office that's nothing but fake stuff. I've always been concerned that even if you put up a computer and say something, then somehow, gosh, I shouldn't hit that button, and it goes, or you forget to change things. So I tell, we don't even think about it, we put it down, talk about it, but don't put it on that computer screen or you're gonna screw up. He'll be here 12 years, 16 years, as long as he wants to be here. I just don't see anybody. Well, and it's don't stroke out, you know, because, you know, and he goes over things and people appreciate it.
Oh, would you look at this crowd? My God.
Thank you all for staying.
Brenda had to, the rest of them.
No, the mayor took my car keys, I couldn't.
Were your ears burning, Steve?
No, I was getting
They
ready to
should
start
have been.
walking.
They should have been.
Well, they should have been the greatest thing.
Yeah.
I need a motion to come back in this
Regular session.
regular session. Paula? Second by
Okay,
Faith.
then.
Let's go Faith Brad.
Okay.
All right, and there,
Wait a
Mr.
minute, Bonnie?
Yep. Oh,
Bonnie,
Bonnie?
anything
Yeah,
else?
no, yes,
No, this
yes,
is
yes.
no.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
come back, or no to come back.
Jennifer?
I wasn't listening, I was writing.
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Paula? Faith?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Thanks for doing
No, I think
first.
we
Right,
need to go
so-
back for another 30 minutes.
Just so you know, at this point after the executive session, there's no action to be taken, sir. All right?
Yes.
Now, I know Bonnie was finishing up here. You had something else you wanted to throw out there, Bonnie? I'm with you, man. I didn't forget you.
Hold on. Oh, okay, back to 245 and industrial buildings that are down there.
Uh-huh.
I got pictures, but I think you already know, you seen pictures. You got those buildings to come up right to 245 and them ditch rows look like crap. Is that part of the city there, since we took?
Well,
Is
so
there
the-
ditches part of our city?
Well, it depends if it's part of the easement of the road. Is it
Well-
on Preston? Is it on the? is
No,
that-
this is on
Is it on
245.
245 is not our road.
Okay, so the businesses there though that was annexed in,
Well, that would be a conversation for the business and that state road. Yeah,
okay.
it's not us.
Oh, I know it's state road,
Yeah.
that wasn't the thing, I didn't know since they're on city
No, on city
property,
property.
Since they were
are
in-
they
No, what I'm saying is we
responsible
don't-
for that, keeping their ditch clean?
Okay, so, I'll look at it, but I'm thinking, I just don't know where the easement is from the road, how far deep it
It
is.
Oh,
looks-
it could be the states.
It could be,
I
but
mean, that's
it
what I'm
looks
saying, that's what I'm saying,
horrible.
because I don't know, again, hey, we've seen that around, we've seen that all around our area. We cleaned up around Wendy's, that wasn't ours. So, again, Bonnie, I'll find out.
Okay,
I'll ask. Anything else, man?
that's it.
All right.
I got
No,
one
I
other
would just like to
thing.
say that
Bonnie mentioned earlier about, all this, annexation and zoning and everything we do and how it can change in next administrations, next council members, for the next millennium. And I just wanna give you my personal guarantee that I will stick around and make sure that this goes the way we want.
Yeah, I think,
Thank you.
thank you, Mike. I do
You're
think,
welcome.
I don't wanna get too much in because we're trying to finish up. I do think it's important that we ask questions, but we know to look at our livelihood, let's make good decisions about it. Let's just make sure that we've really held the people accountable for building these places. I think that's been part of the problem.
I agree.
Yeah,
think
we
that's been-
served we took care of world hunger.
Yeah, we
and
did everything. All right.
Everything while we were in
All
there.
right, Brad has nothing for us. Miss Jennifer, Miss Princess?
Yes,
Hold
I
on.
do
Oh,
have
put your-
something to say.
Yeah, all right. Yes, ma'am.
7
Oh, God.
years ago.
Here we go.
I do not have
You're out of
anything.
here. All right. Miss Faith, welcome back.
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna do the
Hit your
ser-
button.
I'm gonna do the serious stuff first, okay? So I've had several calls, and I'm a little concerned about this too, because my neighborhood has been overrun with soliciting, selling, you name it. I mean, I came home for the funeral home, and this man's running up driveway, and I told him, I said, get off my property, I don't feel like talking to anybody. But it was, somebody wanted to spray my yard, I mean, it's every day. So, and people in Mallard Lake have called me, people on, Beach Grove Road. Is there any way I can sponsor a ordinance about soliciting? I mean, I'll help look it up.
Let's
and-
get with me and me and Catherine look at it, and
Okay.
then can we get back
It's
with
a
you?
little touchy
Absolutely.
because you get on,
It's like a free market thing.
there's some things, sometimes soliciting you can, there's some First Amendment issues, so we just kind of really need to make sure that.
We'll look at it.
And I,
Just
you know, I,
asking if I need to see your, occupational license, please.
well, and I thought they
They'll
were
come
supposed to
get
wear
it.
that. They were supposed to have that. They don't even come get a license.
And I'll look to see if we've already got a solicitation ordinance, we very well may.
We do have something to where they're supposed to have badges and, because I remember I was on council at the time.
Okay,
But-
let's go.
I'll
Well,
look into it.
Okay.
absolutely.
I will
Alright.
say this, what you really cannot do is if somebody that is a religious organization is coming to
Right.
your door,
Or a government.
that
Like,
you really
yeah, I
cannot
know that.
I
Yeah.
have fun with them.
prohibit.
No.
Okay, so, and the other thing, first off, I want to thank, the police department for all they did for me during my dad's funeral. I really appreciate it, never forget it, I promise you I won't. I want to say thank you to all the employees, the council, the flowers you all sent was amazing, I love them. Mayor and his wife, sent, and the city employees did the wind chimes, but everybody came and it really made me feel really special. I just want you all to know how loved I felt through that, and it did help me get through it. So, just want to say thank you.
Appreciate that very much, buddy. Thank you very much. Mr. Mike Hibbert?
Yeah, like I said, we talked an awful lot tonight. We heard a lot of conversation about annexation, about rezoning, flooding, traffic, you name it, roads.
Yes.
Everything, you know.
So the best thing that you all can do is just keep fighting to make sure if you're not up here, have the right people that have the voice that'll always protect what we are doing right now. I get it.
Right.
We can't guarantee 10 years down the road that somebody may not come in and do something to mess up what we are working on. But you can't decide not to make decisions because of that. You just gotta
Right.
keep fighting as long as you got here and here, just go get it.
Right.
And that's what we can do. Don't stop us from what we're
No.
doing. Let's not hesitate to make sure we're doing the right things for the city. We've done a lot of good stuff here and we're proud, but I'm not saying we don't ignore, or we start asking 1,000 questions, because when it comes to annexations or development in our city, we should be asking those questions. I totally agree with that. Ms. Paula?
Well, I've received several calls, people thanking me because their roads have got fixed, and they're very excited and
We've been
thankful
working
for
hard on
that.
that. There's no lie about that.
So I love how everything's coming together. I love Shepherdsville, and I just love being a part of this community and just out talking to people.
No, well, cool. All right. Now, I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
And
I second.
that's what we like. All right. And we got a third back there. We got one that really wants to go home.
Miss Portman?
Miss Portman?
Yes. Miss Edlow? No. No? Having too much fun? Yes.
She's gonna go back in
Next time
executive
she
session.
starts timing
Miss
you, just
Mendes?
remind her of this meeting.
Yes.
Miss Mangus? Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert? Yes. Okay.
All right.
5 and 1.
Thank you all for hanging out with us the last little bit.